You said that you love winning. What drives you more, the love of winning or the hate of losing?
Maybe equally, maybe both. I don't like losing, and I do like winning.
Say his name and he appears.
This is a friendship that'll never ever end.
Greetings and welcome to Winning 2024. How's everybody doing this evening? Hope you're all doing and living well out there. And thank you to all of my Winner Circle members who support the channel on a monthly basis. Thank you, each and every one of you. Your support is greatly appreciated. And also a special thanks to Shelly and Wolfram who support the channel over on Rumble, where we are at $4.99. We're one away from 500. What a climb. We're almost there. You can be the one. You can be the one. If you're out there on Rumble watching, you can be the one. And of course, I am broadcasting live this evening, as always, on Rumble, X, and YouTube. And we are off and rolling. Thank you guys so much for being here. I got a great show live tonight. It's going to be a great show of investigation. And I think it's going to be very captivating. Of course, tomorrow morning, episode 2 of Winning 2024 Morning Edition, and that will be kicking off probably around 8:45 or 9ish, somewhere in that area. Trying to get the start time on that. I think I've decided at 8:45, just so I'm kind of live when other shows go off the air, and I will kind of do like a 15-minute warm up and then get to the stories about 9 o'clock. So that's probably how that's going to roll. And Wolfram, how you doing, man? Thanks for being here, and thanks for dropping those links. Remember, everybody, listen to the wolf. He knows what he's talking about. He wipes his paws, lips in a house, and he is here. And hopefully other people will be joining us very shortly, and I can welcome them as they come in to hang out with us. I'm telling you, this is going to be a great episode tonight. I got some stuff that's going to be pretty eye-opening in terms of a lot of these different topics, these election 2024 topics that are important. And a lot of reasons that they're important is because the corrupt establishment makes them important because they've created these problems. And we, whether it's racial division or political division or Cloward and Piven wreck the country with illegal aliens, open borders type of division and destabilization. These are the type of topics we're going to be going through tonight. And I'm telling you, each one of these reports we're going to do are completely fascinating, and you're going to love these, and they're full of information. Hey, Andy, how you doing? Welcome to the show. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well out there. Let me go ahead and switch this up here. Yep. And by the way, let's see, I'll put this down. I did put a link to my, hopefully it's still there. I did put a link to my my twin brother, Winning Reality, and his channel. He does all the the parody stuff for me, the intros, all that stuff. You can tell us apart because I have blue eyes and he has green eyes, and he's quite the scamp. He is. I'm in reality. He's in surreality. You see how that works. Anyways, we have he's been releasing some new videos. To start out with today, I'll just go ahead and show you a couple of his channel and a couple of the stuff, some of the stuff that's over there. And he told me, where he is the parody universe, so we are in parody when we talk about Winning Reality. He told me that channel. Dude, where is it at? There we go. He told me that he will be releasing some new stuff lately. And this is the stuff this is the channel where you can go. It's too copyrighted for Winning Reality, too good to waste. That's the thing. So there's a lot of like the intros that I've done for people over the years when I did interviews. A lot of those intros are over there, and of course the fine work of Winning Reality. You can see he has green eyes. Mine are blue. That's how you tell us apart. and otherwise we're just alike. But he's released a new short, and he's released the T-Rex. It was T-Rex all along video. So check him out. He says he might be having some more interesting content coming out around certain topics. So you want to check that out to stay on top of that topic right there. There he is. All right. I promise I'm going to plug it. So there you go. As well as we're plugging Indy's channel, make sure you go over there and subscribe to Indy. She has a great Friday night panel with music and discussions and all those fun things, important topics to discuss with people who are trying to figure things out just like the rest of us. And they also have some great musicians over there. If you like live music, you can go over there and check it out. Right. Hey, Cool Gamer, what's going on? How you doing? Welcome. And thank you for supporting the channel. And Shelly's here. There she is. She's the hostess with the mostest, greeting people as they come in through the front door. And everybody loves to see Shelly. She's handing out booby hugs as you walk in. So make sure you get one of those. All right. By the way, as we're getting warmed up here and just talking about stuff, we're going to first jump into the O'Keefe border crisis report. He's down there at the southern border. He's putting out a new film regarding the Biden-Harris child trafficking racket that's going on, and how they come in, and he's really following that issue down to its root. So it's going to be good stuff, and I can't wait to see it. But we're going to get a good long report from him tonight to start off the evening. Before we do, though, however, I would like to say that I have been I've started putting out shorts again. I'm putting out shorts. These new shorts are awesome. So in case you hadn't seen them yet, let me see here. I have learned how to use the StreamYards app to make shorts, and so it's been a lot easier now. And I got like let's see. All right. There you go. Here's one of the shorts right here from Unrig the Game. I did a clip of that. And let's see. I gotta go to my own channel. Oops. Nope. Okay. So there you go. That's that. You can check out my shorts on my channel. And there we go. It's right at the top. And let me take a look at this right here. Like this. There we go. All right. You see right here. All 4 new ones right there, including some outtakes from Unrig the Game last show and the morning show. And it's pretty cool. They're pretty cool. So check them out. They're just getting started here, and here's some of my older ones that are pretty cool. Some back from when I used to do parody videos, and over here on this channel, the whole LawTube series that me and Mr. Suriati worked on. Actually, it was all him. I didn't do it. All right. And so there you go. So check those out too. You'll be seeing a lot more shorts coming out from me as we move along here, because now it's super easy for me just to go back to the shows that I do in StreamYard and find the clips I want. So you'll also notice that I probably will take a few moments during the shows to like maybe back something up and try to like put it out there, right? So I can go back and clip it later. Just stuff that's going to help get the show out, get the channel out there better. And also important points that I wish I could grab while I'm making them. And now it's going to be a little bit easier. So just some channel updates for you. And let's see. And again, we are over on Rumble, and we are at $4.99 over there, and also out on X. How you doing out there on X? Good to see you guys. Let me go ahead and grab the link while I'm thinking about. We're up to 660 on X. Rolling along. Thanks to everybody that supports us on all those platforms. It means a lot as we keep rolling on in this crazy year known as 2024. Could be one of the most important years in American history. Looking back, maybe way out down the road, if there's still a country here, we may find this is one of the most important years in our history. So off and away we go. Yes, Winnie. Shelly is a huge fan of my shorts. Huge. Yes, she's aware. I told her earlier. Welcome, everybody. Welcome in. Come on in. We're going to get started here just shortly on our first story of the evening. And it's a great one if you haven't heard of this yet. Well, you know, because I've been covering it, but this is a great drill down on that. And the new playlists are working out great, by the way. This is going to be an interview between Megyn Kelly and James O'Keefe. And it's going to be quite informative. I kind of like teased this the other day on the morning show. So there you go. Hey, Heidi, how you doing? I see people rolling in here. I'm just going to get this queued up. And yeah, there's Heidi and there's T-Rex. Everybody's rolling in. So happy you guys are here tonight, man. You're in for a great show. As I was telling everybody, the early crowd here, hey, Outpost. We got 3 investigative pieces tonight, back to back to back. And as the title says, election 2024 topics. The O'Keefe border crisis report, new J6 hoax debunk. Man, this new J6 story that's coming out is going to tear down the narrative even further about how this whole thing was set up, orchestrated, and then how the narrative was groomed and maintained post, and like some of the characters that are involved in this. This is a whole new angle that I don't think many people have seen. Again, using cam footage, using CCTV and stuff from inside the Capitol to put together a coherent based report on this. I mean, guys, I saw this today. I was like, I got to show this to the crowd. They're going to love this. So we're going to follow this one all the way through too, because we got some fraudsters working and there's a lot in common here going on. And then, of course, we're going to wrap up tonight with Kamala's race grift, continue more exciting and information coming up from Candace Owens and her great work on that. And there is an interview. She talked. She didn't actually interview, but she talked to one of the uncles. And she's every day she's getting closer to the truth. And I think it's becoming very apparent that what the truth is. However, also something I see coming out of that story is the fact that these autobiographies, these biographies that these leftists put out are like they do this intentionally. Like it's like all of a sudden they have it, and brings me back to Barack Obama's Stories from My Father. Was that the name of that freaking book? Stories from My Father. What was the freaking name of that book? Obama. Let's see. Dreams from My Father. Yeah. Remember how he had that book come out? It came out in let me see what year. Oh, Dreams from My Father, a story of race and inheritance. 1995. 1995 is when it came out. And then, of course, he ran for president years later. Well, kind of the same story here, right? And then what we find out about Barack's book is that, it seems more likely that Frank Marshall Davis is his father, rather than Barack Obama. I mean, him and Frank Marshall Davis look exactly alike. And Frank Marshall Davis Jr., that is, look exactly alike. They smile the same, look the same complexion, everything. And his mother used to be hanging out over at Frank Marshall Davis's house all the time. While I don't know where his dad was, I guess over in Kenya or something, and our supposed dad. And he and she was taking all kinds of nudie pictures and doing all kinds of pornography over there. So So then when you hear about this book tonight, further about Kamala Harris's book, and she actually has 2 different versions, and that's something we're gonna find out too. But she put it out as to establish the narrative of her race, right? It's just all about race. And then what does that lead us back into? What are we learning about on Unrig the Game, the Big Intel book that we're reading right now, Big Intel by J. Michael Waller. Fascinating book. It's all about the cultural Marxism, right? And how that plan is constantly recycled throughout countries, and what they do with that, right? They race division. This is part of the cultural Marxist plan to destroy countries from within, right? To be able to divide and take over. So they're following that whole Marxist playbook right down to the letter, and it just repeats itself over and over again, generation after generation. Another generational warfare that we have to put a plug in and stop. So anyways, that's going to be our third report of the evening. And let's see who else we got here. Crystal Pontac. Hey, what's up? How you doing, bro? Why am I the only green up in here? Yeah, I don't know. Actually, a lot of people are green that they have a wrench and the blue overrides the green. I think that's what it is. Cool Gamers here. He's green. And then the wrench overrides screen. So that's what it is. So welcome. Good to see you. I was roped in this morning with the Kamala stuff. Oh yeah, man. That the report our third report of the evening is going to be great on that. It's really good stuff. I listened to it earlier, and it's gonna again piece together more. We've been following this story episode after episode because it's so fascinating. And really, it's not about the race issue. It's about the fact she lies and the deceptions, right? And how corrupt these establishment people are, right? And how they love to get out and lie about themselves to play identity politics, right? It's not about the race. It's about how they abuse it. It's about the fact that they're race grifting and what that does to a country and what it's intended to do to a country, right? It keeps the whole divide by race thing alive. And it's like I've said it a long time ago, that race baiters are the real racists in this world today. And that's what it is. Oh, good. Awesome. I'm glad you're lurking. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. Good to see you. Good to see you. She is an abomination. Yeah, she is. She is. All right. We're 15 minutes in. Let's get going with our first story this evening. This is from the border. James O'Keefe, the great James O'Keefe, did an interview with Megyn Kelly, and we got to watch this because a lot of good information comes out. And he has a great new film coming out too, called The Line in the Sand. And I played the trailer for that. And we're going to let that one come out and roll, and then we'll eventually cover that on Old School Watch Party Sunday. And we'll watch that after it's gotten time to get out there and be seen. There's a lot of stuff like that that's coming out that I really want to watch with you guys, but I really want to give it time to breathe. Right. So, I'll let that initial rush of people that are going to go out and watch it and buy the subscription to Tucker Carlson and all that stuff. Let it happen. And then we'll roll back around and we'll pick it up after the initial wave of is going on, so they can make their money on it and they don't feel like I'm trying to rip them off. Of course, I'll buy, I'm already subscribed to the Tucker Carlson network. So I am, he does get his money for it, but I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to go out there and see it first. And then we do the analysis on it. Right. So, all right, off and rolling. Here we go.
The border crisis is one of the top issues to voters throughout this country in the 2024 election. For years, we've heard the record-breaking numbers. We've watched hard to believe scenes you don't want to believe, unfolding across our southern border. And today we're getting a closer look at what exactly is happening, how these migrants are making their journey to the United States, the dangerous players along the border, and the organizations backed by us, the United States, who ultimately benefit from perpetuating this whole crisis. James O'Keefe is a journalist and founder of O'Keefe Media Group, or OMG. He is here today to share his new documentary film, Line in the Sand, associated with the Tucker Carlson Network. Here's a bit from the trailer. Watch.
What's happening inside that facility? You know what's happening here? They all protect each other. The NGOs. They got the spotlight on us. The federal government. This is dangerous. I don't think we can trust anybody. America, we made it. On the wall. Follow the journey of the immigrants. No, I can't do this, guy. The journey of the children. Oh, this is big time. We're in a cartel tunnel now, dog. We're in a cartel tunnel. And the journey into human nature. Some things can't be read in a book or a newspaper. They must instead be lived.
James, welcome back to the show. I know. Where are you right now?
I'm in Campo, California, right next to the border wall here.
Okay, so walk me through it. This is one of the rare occasions in which I haven't actually gotten a chance to see the film before helping to promote it. So that's kind of good because the audience is in the same position I'm in. What's the purpose of doing this? Like, what were you trying to get after that others haven't gotten after?
Yeah, people, thanks, Megan, for having me on. People, there's been a lot of reporting on the border, and people have seen this. I don't think there's ever been a movie like this made, Megan, in that it actually immerses you with the cartel. You take the journey the illegal immigrants take. Some of the moments in the film are almost impossible to believe are real. For example, they're cutting through the fence here where I am, an hour east of San Diego, with these big, massive saws. We actually put audio recording devices on the fence to hear what they're saying to each other. We snuck into these facilities where they're housing all these unaccompanied children. We went undercover into these New York City facilities where they're giving out fake residencies. So it's sort of this cinema verite, very, very raw, almost brutally raw picture of what's happening, and you get to sort of be immersed in it with me. So we follow the journey of these people from their origin to their final destination. And what we discovered was so shocking. I mean, almost in the sense that everyone's making money off of this. People are in denial about it. And I wanted to make a film that showed and that shocked people into being awake about what is happening in this country.
It's actually kind of a great combination of your natural skills as a storyteller, as a journalist, as somebody who is very used to going undercover to catch crimes or just bad people in action, and applying it to what's happening along the southern border. So I get the marriage of you with this topic. I want to show a little clip we pulled of you and others running to board this moving freight train with some of these migrants. Let's watch this and you can explain it.
The Faramex train conductor signaled to the immigrants not to take this train, but the next one.
This is a good one.
This is a good one?
This is the best one to travel.
Oh, is that it down there? We gotta run. Let's go. ¿Qué pasó?
There's children running.
That's us. I think that's the train right in front of us.
Next one down. Next one down.
It's chaos. Driving Vance on a freight train.
Go.
Migrants on top of the train.
Everything go, I can fast.
Oh shit, I can't fucking do this, guys.
Hurry. Come on, come in.
Trying to get onto the train.
You got this, brother. Come on. Yeah, Logan, you got this. Look.
Sorry. Oh, we're here. What is this?
Wow.
It's coal. Coal pellets.
Whoa.
Were you trying to
Dude.
board a moving train there
Couldn't
with
all
those
hang
with the
out.
migrants?
Yeah, Megan, that
That's
is
an
the
adventure.
La Bestia, which is Mexican for the beast train in Irapuato, Mexico. The Venezuelans board this train. You saw mothers with their little babies strapped to their chests boarding a moving freight train to get on the train to go from the Mexico City area all the way up to Ciudad Juarez. I actually climbed aboard that train, and one of my colleagues was kidnapped by the cartel. I was detained by the Mexican army there in an unbelievable scene. You just saw a little clip of it, because I wanted to show what these people have to go through. And people say, well, this is a humanitarian thing. Let me tell you, it's not a humanitarian thing. A lot of those mothers are throwing the babies on the train. Some of them get run over. This is gruesome. This is crazy. I wanted to show something that's never been seen before. I rode the train with the Venezuelans. Like I said, I was detained. I actually had a hidden camera in my watch. So I captured the detention. The Mexican authorities were saying how the United States government was funding this. I mean, this is just insane. And while it is true that everyone knows the border is broken, I think, Megan, sometimes people just need to see. The truth is like a lion, as St. Augustine said. You just got to see it to understand it. And we have to know the nature of the crisis. And by the way, a lot of these people are very nice people. One of the things that struck me being with the Venezuelans on that train ride, and I was scared for my life, I was terrified alongside of them. Many of them are just trying to get a better life. Some of them are probably bringing drugs into the country, but a lot of them just want to get here, and it's not necessarily their fault. But the United States government is funding this. And that's what they told me.
They're being
That's what
lured
the Mexican
here.
authorities told me. And you get to watch it in the theater. Like I said, it's a documentary, but it's unlike any documentary you've ever seen.
Why is the United States government funding this?
That's a great question. I mean, Health and Human Services is giving billions of dollars,
Yeah, we know.
for example, to these detention centers in Texas that most people have never heard of. Megan, we snuck into these places and we talked to these officials, places like Southwest Key in Texas. These NGOs get billions of dollars from the feds. And if you stop the flow of immigrants, you stop the funding flow to these institutions. And what these people all told me, and many of them didn't know they were recorded, was it was all about the money for them. They needed these people to keep coming. They needed the children to keep getting trafficked. And by the way, we're talking about 500,000 children in 3 years. They need the children to keep flowing so they get the money in their pocket so they can, quote, feed their family. And that's why the film is called Line in the Sand, because it's a film about the border, but it's not really about the border. It's about this almost biblical or age-old paradox of, at what point do you draw the line and stop doing evil things in order to make a living? And that's a really hard question to answer. The film shows all these people saying, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. I got to earn a living. Many of them Border Patrol agents. But the film ends in a very optimistic, uplifting way, because it actually shows true, courageous whistleblowers. They haven't actually gone public yet. Border Patrol agents, et cetera, who do the right thing and are punished for it. And I think the film ends, with basically saying everyone seems to have a price, except for a couple people, and it talks about those people. So it's a really deep theme here that we're exploring.
Amazing work.
You mentioned this group, Southwest Key, this NGO, non-governmental organization that houses minors. They were given $978 million in 2024, $3.2 billion since 2020. There are 17 shelters in Texas, 8 in Arizona, 2 in California. The CEO makes over $1 million a year. The facilities house thousands of children. The top executives make over $500,000 a year. There's that organization. And then one of the ones that jumped out at me, James, is WPATH. WPATH is there. That's the trans group that's trying. I mean, truly, it's like all these trans activists trying to trans our children.
Huh.
I know. This was in San Diego. I'm an hour east of San Diego. The film is in Texas, New Mexico, and California. We actually followed I always wanted to do this, Megan. I followed the illegal immigrants from their origin to their final destination every step of the way. And along the way, we were in a San Diego parking lot, and there were all these NGOs giving assistance to the immigrants. And one of them was the World Professional Organization of Transgender Health. This guy, he does not know he's being recorded, and they're transporting them to the airport. And all of these NGOs get money to help. The more people that they move, the more money that they get. And then they use the legal lawyer process in California to there's so many groups helping these people making money off this crisis. And again, I asked the bus driver, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just trying to earn a living. I'm just trying to feed my family. I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job.
one of the groups on here, you got Immigrant Defenders Law Center. The government granted 6.6 million, salaries, compensations 4 million. Asian Americans Advancing Justice, government grants 39.1 million, salaries, compensations 3 million. And I'm sorry to see on here, Catholic Charities, government grants for 42.8 million, salaries, compensations 22.5 million. I like that is the kind of thing that makes you not want to put the money in the basket at the weekly mass.
That's a big theme in the film is the churches are in on this. And by the way, Megan, a lot of people told me not to touch that. I had people, you're a journalist. I'm sure you get this off the record. James, you don't want to upset the Christians now. Listen, I'm just telling you the facts. I had a whistleblower inside Catholic Charities give me internal documents that are in this film, never before seen. I had Zoom calls in this film. These are things that no one's ever seen before, like taken from the boardroom of the Catholic Church, where they're saying things like, yeah, we're no longer Catholic. You can't. You can't make it up.
Wow.
It's not. It's crazier than if I brought this stuff to Netflix, they would laugh at me. You think that I'm hiring actors to say these things. I'm not. These are actual boardroom meetings in the Catholic Church where they're saying we've lost our way. We're no longer Catholic. They get money from the
Well, it's kind of true about the current Pope. I don't think it's true about most Catholics, but we got questions about the current Pope, who's very pro immigration and is pretty tolerant of some other social issues that we haven't seen in some weird ways. But anyway, they're not alone. There's so many groups here, James, who work to make money off the system, and it starts to make sense. Like, why does this problem continue to fester and grow? So when the migrants, they get on the train, and what happens next? Because how do the cartels come into it? If they're on the train, does the train just drop them off in San Diego and they're good to go? Or where do the cartels come in?
That's what the film, that's exactly what I wanted to show for the audience. I don't think anyone's ever seen this before. There have been a couple of YouTubers that have shown some things. The Venezuelans, they come from around the world to the city of Irapuato to climb aboard this train they call the Beast train. Actually, the train that I was on was the Bolachero train, which is like the Beast, little iron balls you lay on top of the freight train. And I was told when I got to Irapuato by locals to say, you should not be doing this. They're going to ransom you for $100,000 or whatever. And I knew there's a possibility that I could get kidnapped like my colleague. My colleague was kidnapped, Megan, and they destroyed his equipment and then they let him go. Maybe they didn't want to kill an American. So when I was detained by the Mexican authorities, there was a possibility that I would be ransomed. But thank God, I was very fortunate. I recorded that entire encounter. It's in the film. It's extraordinary. But to answer your question, they take the train. Sometimes they get off the train. They walked up to, in the film, what you see is they walk up to El Paso area in particular, Ciudad Juarez, and then they cut through the fence. You actually see this happening. They run drugs through the fence. A lot of the children are lured here. You also see that. These are very hard images to see, and it's very difficult to show it, but we show a little bit of it. Some of the children are drugged. We show that. We actually see in the movie drugged children, and you see their faces. You can see things have happened to them. And you see the smugglers go through this graded fence, carry the drugs. We actually ran after them, talked to them. They said they paid to get here. One of the immigrants actually tells me he can't tell me who paid him because they'll kill him. And then they're brought to this parking lot in San Diego. The NGOs put them on a trolley train. They go to the San Diego airport. The bus drivers, I interview all these people, and they put them on airplanes, and they bring them to places like to New York. I go to New York, and I follow that whole process to their final destination, Randall's Island, which is a kind of an encampment in New York City. They're snuck in there. It's just, I guess sometimes
on that front, James, on that front, James, who is Pedro Rodriguez?
So that's one of the guys in the film that's running one of these churches in New York City. We go undercover in the church, and they're just stamping fake addresses. You pay them, and they give you an address. So I go in there as a Ukrainian immigrant. Of course, I'm not. And they stamp this document saying, here's your address in New York City. And then they also give us a wristband and a free flight wherever we want to go. So it's, I mean, like I said, you got to have to watch it to believe it.
We have a little video of you confronting Pedro. Pedro, we'll play it short. Watch a little bit of that.
wanted in all these states in New York, in every country, because you are a bunch of thieves and criminals and liars. You are unbelievable.
Stamping fake addresses.
Because you are a bunch of thieves and criminals. You steal children. You have been wanted in 3 states in South America because
What are
you
you talking
children.
about?
Yes, they steal children. Yeah, they do. They take
Look at that,
children.
inverting
Yeah,
reality.
Is this
Evil
a
inverting
best
reality.
defense is a good offense kind of approach by Pedro?
Yeah, you're showing a tiny. So I mean, it's like almost like projection there, Megan. This guy lost his mind, and like you typical O'Keefe investigations. When I asked the subject for comment, talking about how I steal children, just saying crazy things. This
Crazy.
gentleman was caught on tape committing perhaps criminal acts, stamping fake addresses, and he was caught. And you see that kind of narcissism, that sociopathy on display when these people are caught red-handed.
There he is.
Why did they give him fake addresses?
So that's a question that we explore in the film. He's making money off of the crisis. I mean, this is okay. So I go into this NGO undercover, catch them on tape, stamping all this fake stuff. And I'm a journalist, so I'm outside the place asking for comment. And these Ecuadorian women come up to me and they're speaking in Spanish. And they say to my colleague who speaks Spanish, can we please, is he a member of the press? Can we please speak to him? And privately, they tell me this guy is making all this. He's taking advantage of us. He's charging us $1,100 for our asylum claims, and he's scamming us. So I thought that was remarkable because these people all tell you that it's about helping these people get a better life. But the immigrants told me, and the illegal immigrants told me that they're being scammed money out of their pocket. Their words. And I didn't plan this. It's not like these people found me. And they actually jumped in the SUV and gave me an impromptu interview crying about how they're being scammed. And that's when Pedro ran up to me and said, I steal children. My assumption and belief is that perhaps he steals children. That seems like
I think he was
projection
trying to
me.
say enough negative things about you to make the footage unusable, not understanding that pretty much everyone who's related to news knows you in this country and would not fall for that.
Right.
But it's, you know, you mentioned the children and these women, and you can't help but feel for them and their condition. But then you think about the truly bad guys who are coming across the border too, hurting those women and those children, and then hurting our women and our children and our men. And that's the story out of Nantucket over the past few days, which I do want to mention because, of course, the mainstream media is ignoring it. There are 4 illegals. This is broken by Fox's Bill Malugin on Wednesday. And they were arrested by ICE last week in Massachusetts, which is a sanctuary state. ICE's Boston office arrested 4 illegal aliens who are charged with raping or sexually assaulting Nantucket children and residents, all of whom had been released from local custody despite serious charges. Elmer Sola, an illegal alien from El Salvador, which, by the way, is part of the Kamala Harris root causes problem. Guess she missed this one. Entered the U.S. as a gotaway and was charged last month with 3 counts of aggravated child rape. The victim was a Nantucket child. He's now charged with 11 counts of sex crimes against a child. There's another, Brian Daniel Aldana Arevalo, Salvadorian, illegal alien, entered the U.S. as a gotaway, charged in July with raping a Nantucket child, and then 2 others who appear to be not children, but I'm not exactly sure what their age are. We searched to see if this story was covered by the mainstream media. CNN, 0. MSNBC, 0. NBC, 0. New York Times, 0. Washington Post, 0. How much ink have they spilled, James, on pets, trying to disprove that pets are being eaten? They're really interested in that. This, not so much.
Well, that's what I hope. You know, I'm an optimist, Megan, and kind of like years ago, 15 years ago, I think you covered that Acorn story where we did 15 years ago when Congress defunded Acorn. It was one of those breakthrough moments when the New York Times was forced to report. I believe this film could change things. And I hear you, the media doesn't report on it. That's why I say people know that things are broken, but this film is not a political film. There's not, I took all politics out of this. But didn't mention the presidential candidates. Good. This is a transcendentalist film. Let me give you an example about the children. You mentioned Nantucket. I don't want to give the whole thing away, but in the film, there is a few Border Patrol agents who blow the whistle. And one of them is just an absolute lion of a man. And he talks about the underage girls. He talks about the rape. And I interviewed him in uniform. He's going out on a limb, and he breaks down crying in the film. Now, the Border Patrol have just sent him a cease and desist letter the last few days. So I go up, this is in the Canadian border now. We're in Vermont. People don't realize that it's also the Canadian border is being overrun right now by Haitians and various people. And I go up there to confront the Border Patrol for comment, and the Vermont State Police is parked outside of all the neighborhoods of all the Border Patrol agents, protecting them from my news crew. They detain me, and then we got the footage. We're going to release it later today of that, I believe, unlawful detention. So it seems like everyone's protecting the system, Megan. The police, the NGOs, the federal government, they're all protecting each other. And the press, for some reason. is protecting that. So we have to, it's kind of reached a boiling point in this country. I know Kamala's going to the border tomorrow. I think it's reached a boiling. It's not a left or right issue. It's certainly not a conservative or liberal issue. It's a humanitarian issue.
It's humanitarian.
And the first part about being an alcoholic is you have to recognize you got a problem. So hopefully this film accomplishes that goal.
I want to tell the audience it's called Line in the Sand. It's available to the public on October 10th, exclusively on the Tucker Carlson Network. James, all the best to you. Thank you so much.
Dude. Yeah.
Thank you, Megan.
What a story.
Amazing. Amazing, dude. We got to watch that. Got to get it out. It's like Muckraker documentary part 2, but even more in depth. And O'Keefe's going to do a great job with putting that out. He did a great job. And a lot of some of the things we heard people talking about in the Muckraker report we did. When was it? Last week? When did we do that one? Let me go back to my content page to be accurate here. We did it on yeah. Okay, so that was on September 27th. We did that. That was a Winning 2024. I think it was a Thursday night too. So yeah. In that report, you see where these kids end up. So they kind of take it from the border to where they end up. So some of these places they end up. So a lot of people I see out there right now watch it. Hey, Ellie, how you doing? Ellie, you're gonna love some of the stuff we got coming up tonight. You always do, but we got more on the genealogy deep dive. So yeah, that's coming up. But again on this, the Muckraker report took us from the border to where they end up and what happens to them. So some of the stuff he was talking about, like how these people that take them in are exploiting them for money and saying they own them. Basically, it's basically a form of like migrant slavery, if you will, like indentured servitude for migrants, or the people that shouldn't be here. And the problem is the bigger issue, the bigger thing that's pushing them here, right? We're looking at the symptoms. We're reviewing the symptoms and the analysis. So we have to stop the damage that's going on with these symptoms, right? Because they're affecting people, and innocent people. And then they're also letting in a lot of bad people too that are doing more harm to innocent people, right? Like those demons that were up in Nantucket. It's allowing it's a crisis. It's like they're allowing this crisis to happen, right? It's destabilizing us, and it's building to a crisis, right? And the crisis is going to lead to something. And then what happens is the way subversion works, right? We're demoralized that we can't do anything about it. The results begin to destabilize society. It brings things to a crisis, and then the establishment comes in and poses as a savior. And how did they pose as a savior this time? Well, we had a comprehensive bipartisan border bill, and Trump shut it down. He doesn't want border safety. You see how they did that? And their comprehensive border bill, bipartisan border bill, right? That was allowing only 1,500 more ICE agents to serve as escorts to allow nearly 20 million people in a year. It's no different than what we're going through now, right? Isn't that how it turned out? I mean, it was just a wolf in sheep's clothing, which is how Marxists work. So how Marxism works, it's always a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Literally, if you go back to the Fabian socialists, that's their symbol. But that's just a branch of overall Marxist ideas that drive evil and drive people to do these things. We're really honing down on that. And I'm telling you that at the root cause of that is this never-ending philosophy that indoctrinates people into evil and corrupts them and helps them corrupt others so that they have more and more. It's like it's an unnatural the assembly of more and more people that are brought into this. And it starts with critical theory and the colleges and now in the schools, right? And it corrupts people and prepares them to adopt this ideology as ideological subversion. Yuri Bezmenov, go back to the original, the real red pill. I'm telling you that 15 years ago when I saw that content, it woke me up like more than anything else. I was already awake, but it really helped me understand what to see, what to look for. It laid out the plan. It laid out the whole plan. And the only thing that's different about the way he describes it and what we're seeing today is they've optimized it so that it's a generational cycle. So it's constantly happening. And by indoctrinating the youngest generation after generation, they're preparing them to go up to college, to be further activated, right? And then corrupted and demoralized, so they can then put them in positions like these people are in, make them do the dirty work, make them take on the evil, make them part of the agenda, and make them useful idiots, right? And they're all about it, and they can't even discern the fact that they're doing it until maybe sometimes it's too late, or not at all. So, we talk about solutions here, closing the border, one, stopping the bleeding, but we have to get back to where this is coming from. And we go back to Agenda 2030. We go back to the globalists, the UNWEF Agenda 2030, right? And this isn't just happening here. This is happening in all Western countries. It's just, this is our flavor of it. If you go to UK, it's about Muslims, and in Europe, it's about Muslims. Here in religion, here it's about race, because that's what we fall for here in America, because we've been primed for it. We've been conditioned for it for centuries. And they know where the Marxists know exactly where to strike and how to do it. And again, I can't tell you guys enough about this book, Big Intel. I'm loving this book. We unrig the game every Wednesday every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Do the kickoff show here. I can't tell you how great this book is, man. I mean, it's really shedding a light on a lot, filling in a lot of gaps, shedding light on all this stuff. I really hope that you guys will come and read this book with us. We're only through the first 2 episodes of the series. Rumble link, it's on Rumble, and there's a playlist over on Rumble, so you can catch up. 6 fascinating chapters, so very short chapters, and man, you will absolutely love it. And I want to show you guys, if I can find it here as I'm talking. Let's see. Let's get back to the home here. Oh yeah, here we go. Shorts. Let's do this. I just want to give you a sample of the kind of stuff I'm talking about with Unrig the Game and Big Intel the book. Let me just show you this real quick, and then we're going to move on to our next story. And I'm going to talk to you, crowd. I haven't forgotten about you. I'm just, man, coming out of this, I was thinking so much. I really wanted you guys just to listen to the interview, and then I wanted to comment after it. I know a lot of times I'll stop it and say something, but this time I just really wanted to sink in. Okay, so here we go. Critical theory is cultural Marxism. Hopefully this comes through with the volume up. But if
Marx's goal was not to improve, but to destroy family, human relationships, economics, patriotism, loyalty, morals, religion, Western civilization, destruction of the entire human existence. In Marx's words, thus the criticism of heaven is transformed into a criticism of earth, the criticism of religion into the criticism of law, and the criticism of theology into the criticism of politics, denigrating Western civilization and culture. That irreconcilable cultural warfare approach would become known as cultural Marxism. Adherents called its philosophical basis, the logical trains of thought that would lead people to accept and pursue cultural Marxist conclusions, critical theory. As opposed to the later Marx, the cultural Marxist originalists would tear apart societies not by economic class and the hard currency of capital, but by religion, law, race, family, tradition, knowledge, patriotism, and beliefs.
To imagine what can be by unburdened. What's that freaking thing that she says? That's pretty much in a nutshell what Kamala's little saying is right there.
His goal was not to improve, but to destroy family, human relationships, economics, patriotism, loyalty, morals, religion, Western civilization.
All right. I started over, right? You guys saw the whole thing. Okay. It's only a minute long, but that's one of the shorts I put out here. It really explains it. Okay, crowd, I'm coming to you, and then we're going to go to our next story. Let me see. I saw Heidi over there on Rumble. Hey, Heidi, how you doing? Where are we at on Rumble? Okay, we're still $4.99. Someone can be the one. Who's going to be the one? The 5. Who will go down in history as number 500? The 500th follower will live in immortality forever and ever and ever, as long as they stay subscribed, of course. Yeah, remember, you can just subscribe, ring the bell because I'm shadow banned because I talk about real shit, and they hate that. And I'm covering all the topics they want us to forget about, and like cover up and not let them just gaslight us all into backing the establishment again, which we're never going to do in this crowd. We're way too smart and awake. I hope everybody's having a good day. Thanks, Ellie. You're awesome. All right. He's having so much fun with the teleology stuff. So cute. Are you talking about me? Hey, Memento Mori. What's up, my friend? How you doing? Genealogy. Freaking autocorrect. I'm 18 minutes behind, but you know what? You're present in our hearts. That's right. We also lose faith in you as a nation. Yes, Crystal is from South America. It's from South Africa. My fault. Sorry, my head's spinning right now. South Africa. So I understand. I don't blame you for losing faith in us, but I hope you guys see that we've been under attack for decades. This is ideological subversion. It's a slow process, but it's a generational process, and slowly but surely they've gotten to the point where we are we're suffering. We're getting ready to break. It's the end game is coming, and you're going to hear about this later on, if not tomorrow on the morning show. I have a report that. Hold on, take it to the. Yeah, I'm listening to myself here. Okay, there we go. All right, take that clip down. For some reason, every time I touch the shorts page with the mouse, I'm not even on it, and it just flips up. All right, I'm getting the next one ready. Let me go back to the crowd here. Yeah, we're trying, man. We're the last hope for the world, though. I'll tell you that. I mean, we got to get it done. We got to get it done. We've never been so awake and so close to the tipping point than we are right now. We've never had the type of leadership that we have right now. And this is it, guys. We're going in for the end game is coming up fast. And if it's not anytime soon, it's going to be at least by 2030 or shortly thereafter. Yeah, it's here. The big finale, the big climax is here. It's going to go one way or the other. And this is why we are being brought together by the idea that the good energy in the world, right? And the ideas of freedom, self-ownership, liberty, morality. These are the things that bind us and bring us together. And a lot of our friends out there are trapped in the establishment narrative, don't even realize that they're working for evil and that they've been turned into useful idiots. And some of them are beyond saving, some of them like it, and some of them need to be pulled out. So we'll see how these final days go in this battle. This war is coming to its head, and this cold ideological war that we've been in, this takeover of our country is coming to a head, and we will be living in interesting times, and we will be living to see this happen. So I'm happy to have each one of you here. I'm proud to know you, and onward we go. All right. Let's see. Okay, today is a good day. Today we did an object. Okay, so you're just about lessons in school. Good job. Good job. Good job. I'm gonna go back to this 20 blessing bags. I see food and essential oils. Okay, so I think I'm caught up with any kind of comments coming towards me about the content here. But hey, I love it when you guys are having great conversations in the crowd too. So don't even think I'm skipping over your comments. I just want to make sure that I stay on point and keep us moving forward. Wait, you're telling me I'm not supposed to vote for Liz Cheney? Well, of course. Of course not, man. Of course not. Yeah, of course. The rhino that won't go away. The neocon's revenge. We have to keep an eye on those people too, but hopefully if we take down the root cause issue, they'll be a non-factor. All right. Let's see. All right, guys, let's do it. Let's move on to the next one. I think I've got all the comments. I'm caught up. If not, re-comment me on the last piece we did, because now, dude, this guy, I guarantee you guys probably haven't seen this yet. I bet you a lot of you haven't seen this yet. This is good. We're going to go back to J6 here. J6, the narrative, the big insurrection, calling for violence, the whole thing they tried to hang Trump with the entire time. They tried to put him in jail. They put other people in jail. They wrote people into this. They planned this out. It's really becoming apparent what's been going on. And when you see the lies coming out of the narrative, the heroes, quote unquote heroes of J6 that were propped up by the establishment, wait till you see this guy. Wait till you see what he's done. And I'm going to start this out though by doing a little introduction to who the investigator is. I think I have this. I think it's the same guy. I'm pretty sure. Either way, it's going to be interesting news. Yeah, it looks, well, they look alike. I think it is Steve Baker. Hold on. And this guy. Just give me 1 second so I make sure I get this right. Where's the dude? Where's the dude? Where's the dude? Looks like the same guy. If not, it could be his brother. Doesn't matter. Or the report is still the same. We're going to catch up on the J6 stuff. Here's the first bombshell, and then we're going to go to we're going to go to the dude on the thumbnail. So here we go. Boom.
I want to introduce you to Steve Baker. He's an investigative journalist, Blaze Media correspondent. He's the guy. Yeah, he's the guy that might go to jail. In fact, I think if the election goes the wrong way, well, he's going to go to jail. He was parading.
Yeah, same guy.
Parading. In the Capitol building, which he really wasn't. He was standing with his back up against the wall, recording and doing the job of a journalist.
What evidence do you have of that?
Have the film of it the whole time he was there. We have the whole time. The whole time he was there.
And it doesn't show him doing any of that
no,
stuff?
It doesn't.
Okay,
no,
that's good. That's pretty good evidence.
But anyway, Steve is with us now. Hi, Steve. How are you?
And good morning to you, too.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. So I want to ask you about a couple of things. First of all, give us an update, because I understand we just broke some breaking news on the Blaze about the 3 hours and 19 minutes of the National Guard not coming to the Capitol.
Right.
Explain the story quickly and then give us the update.
I'll give this as concisely as I can. We have been really fortunate to come into contact with some very high-ranking officials, not only within Congress and the government, but also the Pentagon. And one of the most recent relationships that I've been able to develop and get really close to is former Assistant Secretary of the Army, Stacy Wardynski. And he was referred to me by a congressional aide and said, I think this guy might talk to you. And this is a guy that was not only 30 years in the Army, teaches at West Point, chief economist of the Pentagon, but managed an $80 billion Army budget over manpower as the Assistant Secretary of the Army.
Wow.
We're not talking about an unqualified, unexperienced,
low level,
not a DEI hire.
Right.
Let's just say that.
Okay.
And so I've had dozens of calls with him, and then actually I've been able to meet with him in DC when we both happened to be there at the same time. And as a result of that, he decided to go on the record with us and reveal to the Blaze that he was on the teleconference call. In fact, they used his system that day when the Army or the Pentagon generals, the guys that answered directly to Mark Milley, who was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the time. These were the 4-star and 3-star generals, were on the teleconference call with the National Guard commanders at the same time, discussing the deployment of the Guard after Capitol Police Chief Son was desperately trying to get them to come down and assist them at the Capitol. They're only blocks away.
And they were ready.
They were completely ready.
Yeah.
And this is what the Guard commanders were trying to convey. But the Pentagon pukes, the guys who answered directly to Milley, were saying, we're not so sure about the optics of this. So we originally thought that the phrase, we don't like the optics, came from Nancy Pelosi. And 3.5 years ago, the second story I ever wrote about January 6th, I was actually entitled Who Was Up the Chain on January 6th. And that's where I mentioned the optics quote and applied that because it came from her Sergeant at Arms of the House, Paul Irving, passed along to her. So we just assumed that it was Pelosi. No, it was passed along from these generals at the source at the Pentagon on this teleconference call, which Assistant Secretary Stacy Wardynski was on that call. And he laid it all out to us.
And this is the first time ever in the history of the National Guard that there has been a problem in Washington.
Yeah.
And they have not gone in to quell it.
That's
first time.
That's exactly it. And there's so much detail. And of course, we've got the article up on the Blaze right now. But then this, just an hour ago, Representative Loudermilk, Barry Loudermilk, who is the chairman of the Oversight Subcommittee, he dropped a bomb just an hour ago while we're getting ready and preparing for this interview right here. And he drops a list of transcripts related to the National Guard deployment. And we've heard, that Trump said that he wanted the Guard there. And we've heard Kash Patel say that and corroborate that. And there's been this back and forth argument. It's in writing now.
Oh, my gosh.
I want to read one quote, just one, from General Mark Milley, former chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, January 3rd, 21. The president just says, hey, look at this. There's going to be a large amount of protesters here on the 6th. Make sure that you have sufficient National Guard or soldiers to make sure it's a safe event.
Oh, my gosh.
Trump says, hey, I don't care if you use Guard or soldiers, active duty soldiers, do whatever you have to do. Just make sure it's safe. Boom.
Boom.
Done.
Case closed.
Unbelievable. And that's not going to be reported.
His campaign has to get on this.
Oh, yeah.
Right away.
Yeah. All right. Let me switch gears and talk to you about Gates came out and said, I don't know if
hold on a second. Let's pause this for 1 second. Wild, what's up? I promised Wild that if he wanted me to talk about the definition of a conspiracy to come on by tonight, and I'd stop and talk to him for a couple minutes about it. So hang tight on that information. We're at a good stopping point for that. Wild, the idea of a conspiracy is not to expose what is hidden. No, a conspiracy is you're close, buddy. Let me show you what the definition is. See, when not sure what the definition is, you always want to go look it up. All right, that's the most important thing to do is to look it up. Right, and there it is. Right, So here it is. Here is the definition of the word: a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. But it could also, that's just one of the definitions, right? The actions of plotting or conspiring. Here's another: a conspiracy refers to a secretive plan or plot, typically involving multiple individuals or groups to achieve a nefarious or clandestine goal, right? It can mean several different things. There's different ways to achieve a conspiracy. Two people planning something together that you know that isn't really well known can be considered a conspiracy, right? And I think that the conspiracies are just a way life goes. So it's not the idea is to expose something. You can talk about conspiracies, right? And then that's exposing them, right? But they don't, it's not the action of exposing. It's not, you know, so I don't know who Christiana is, but I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. So I'm pretty sure I got a good handle on it. I can take it as deep as you want to go down the rabbit hole because I've been down all of them. But anyways, yeah, so that's basically what it is, man. And so I just encourage you to, if you ever wondering about something, you know, look up the definition. I call the Agenda 2030 an open conspiracy because on the surface it's a plan, but underneath it there's a nefarious conspiracy, right? And so they wear the face of altruism. You can look up that word as well. And act like they're doing this virtuous thing for the world because, you know, they're the elites and they know what's best for us. That's just their elitist mindset. That's a mind virus, by the way. And so that's there's a hidden outcome. It's a hidden really purpose behind this Agenda 2030. It looks like it's all for humanity on the surface, but it's not. And that's what we try to expose by talking about what the results are going to be, who benefits from it. You know, that's how you uncover the conspiracy underneath of it. Right. So it's about uncovering it. So you commented on my video today about the short about the conspiracy of an idea. And that is a true thing because when people are working with the same idea, they'll take the same actions and end up with the same results. So they'll be adding to the outcome of that idea. And cultural Marxism is a great example of that. Working the Marxist mindset, right, to destroy countries, to subvert countries, to the ends justify the means. There's several other ways you can go with that. But that you know, they don't have to know each other. No one has to tell them what to do. If they're working with that intention, right? Whether it be through critical theory, gender, critical theory, race, whatever direction they've been programmed and put into, they don't have to. These people don't have to know each other. There's no evil dude behind a door going, "You'll do this and you'll do that." Right? The idea is is driving them to the end result. It's the idea that is the conspiracy at this point, right? Because the idea wants a result. And it works to its useful and its followers, its believers, right, to get that result. And the result comes through many different people working in that energy. And that's what I'm talking about in that short. Thanks for coming. And yeah, like I promised you. Yeah, well, the Illuminati is a group out of Hollywood. It's a cult in Hollywood. The old-fashioned Illuminati that you're thinking of from way back when, that's not around anymore. In fact, I did a whole stream on that. You can go watch the history of it where I break it down. But really, what it is today, it's a Hollywood cult. It's just a bunch of people that are very influential. They do very sick and nasty things, but they are by no means running the show. So they're not running the show. If you want to know who's running the show, go to the UN, go to the WEF. There's your villains, and look for the mega donor class, right? People who fund it all, and you'll find your guys at the top of the pyramid. That's how it goes. The rest of it's a conspiracy grift. Let's get back to the program here, and here we go. Bombshell. All right. Oh, I'm going to change my name.
Verified anywhere, but Gates came out and said that there have now 5 assassination teams going after the president. He said 3 of them he believes are foreign and 2 of them are domestic. What do we know about? Have we made progress on either of these investigations?
Well, you know, Eric Prince, that's his biggest fear.
Yeah,
is that this is going to move beyond the lone gunman or the disaffected young man or the insane guy from North Carolina, or whatever the case may be. That it's going to move to a Venezuelan gang, or it's going to move to an Iranian cell being activated.
You're seeing how the Secret Service move. You see their weaknesses. You see it all. Why wouldn't you take that shot if you're Iran?
And that's why we've been calling.
Yeah, so that's the fear, right? Is that it could turn into more. Like it goes from being a lone gunman, a lone assassin, right? Exposing the holes and weaknesses, the exploits, getting shots off, or getting set up to take shots in a couple different cases, right? to now you imagine dealing with more than one person, right? Because we haven't had that yet. No matter who tells you that out on the internet, they don't know what they're talking about. They're only dealing with one person at a time right now. But if some of these groups that if they really exist, he's going to say he thinks some of them are just out there for fear purposes, right? If they exist, then imagine dealing with multiple people at the same time, and that's a logical step, right? That this could be next. However, it's a really easy solution. You're going to have to really just like slow it down for Trump. Slow it down for Vance. Let's get to November. It's important that we get through this month, right? And let's do online town halls, man. You don't have to go see everybody. We've done it. You've been doing it for 3 presidential runs now, going out and throwing these massive rallies, and you've done it. Now the online town hall things are beautiful. Do those. Just do those. Use technology. That's where you're strongest. I always felt like Trump should have been doing these online town hall things during his presidency, like fireside chats. Fireside chats. Wow. Just dude, seriously, just look at my Unveiling Reality series. I got different playlists out there, man. I've been doing this for a long time. Like, I woke up after 9/11, and then I got really, really going in my education by about 2004, and then I went nuts on it. Like I'm the kind of person I gotta get to the void. I got a question to the void. I'm a root cause analyst by nature. I got an engineer mind. I can hold multiple complex logical workflows in my mind at the same time. That's why I'm good at my job. And it's just the way I'm built. It's just I just don't fall for these things. Even if I fall for them, I eventually end up questioning them and then drilling down further deeper into the rabbit hole and saying, I got to figure out ways to block this mind control. I have 2 prime motivations. I first started out to try to figure out what's going on in this world, but then I had a son, and then I realized that, I need to make sure that he has a future, right? So these are my prime motivations to not accept the grifts, not accept the establishment narrative, not fall for any kind of mind control, but to try to figure out how to deprogram the mind control in whatever fashion it shows itself for people, to teach them the skills in their mind, how to have the mental antivirus to resist this age of information-based mind control. And it's a real thing, and it's out there, and I prove it. I think every show I make a case for it. So if you're here, man, I think you're a great guy and you're along for the ride, man. Just check out that content and we'll grow together. Because I've been down these roads, and that's why a lot of people love to come here and talk to me about stuff, because I can save them. I can be the roadmap. I can be the shortcut in a lot of ways to help get people up to speed faster for these major events that are heading our way. And this major changes are going to be happening. We all have to be in this. We all have to be fighting for our liberty and freedom at this point. And we do that by being knowledgeable first, by understanding it. All right, let's get back to it.
Since the first assassination attempt back in July 13th, that the president needs to augment, if not replace, his security while he still legally can before the election, and bring in his own private security.
I agree.
Obviously, the United
agree.
States Secret Service are not doing their job.
100% agree. 100% agree. So what is the latest on the shooter at the golf course? Do we have anything?
Yeah, we just released a story this morning. I did. And you're not going to believe this. So we know about the police standoff that he had with Greensboro Police and Guilford County, North Carolina Sheriff's Department back in 200002.
Right. Charged with a weapon of mass destruction and actually convicted of that. Did he ever go to jail, prison?
Glenn, you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you.
Oh, yes,
Look at this. Before that incident, 5 months before, he was arrested for being found with multiple explosive devices, was on his own recognizance release at that time on probation. At the time he did the 3-hour standoff with local police with the gun, with the alleged automatic rifle.
How did he not go to prison?
He didn't just not go to prison while he's now, after going through the legal process and being convicted and then being released and being on 5 years probation. Somehow he was granted travel to Costa Rica. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to Costa Rica or not, but there's only 3 reasons for going to Costa Rica, and 2 of them are not good.
All right, so anybody that cuts off right there will not get the rest of the story. Why does I keep doing that? Get the rest of the story. A lot of people will cut off right there and be like, see, it's an inside job, blah, blah, blah. But look at this. Look at this really carefully.
What are the 2 reasons that are not good? I've not been to Costa Rica, and I don't.
Sex trade and money laundering operations.
Okay.
The third one, though, is what? It's pretty.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
Great beaches, great
okay. All
jungle
right.
resorts.
Okay. Well, then if I ever in Costa Rica, that's why I'm going. Your recommendation. So, but that doesn't make sense. That's like Jeffrey Epstein kind of stuff that everybody knows, but for some reason they let him go.
Yeah.
And is this just incompetence? Was this reimagining the police and justice, or no? He's white. What happened?
All right, he is a career criminal. He has charges going all the way back to when he was in high school. He is a guy who's had over 100 criminal charges leveled against him. He has I think he has 74 arrests. That's why he was so calm on his arrest last Sunday. It's like, he had that smirk on his face and he was so calm. And this is just another day at the office for him in terms of being arrested by cops. He's had multiple felony convictions. He's never spent a day in prison as a result of that.
How?
Okay, well, I interviewed the former conservative sheriff out of North Carolina, out of Guilford County, and he told me that the county there, Guilford County, is traditionally extremely liberal, and that they would rather release people and plea them down rather than going through the process of, they are government workers, so they would have to actually go to work if they do a trial.
Wait a minute.
Plea them down, one after the other, pleading them down.
If you have a machine gun, if you have a fully automatic weapon, that's ATF. That's a federal crime.
And that's exactly what the sheriff said. That crime in particular should have been referred to the federal authorities, and it should have been adjudicated there, but it was not. It was pled down locally to a concealed carry violation.
Concealed carry. You got a machine gun, and they plead you down to a concealed carry. How about that? I mean, it's a corruption in the system. Again, the corruption in the system. It's corrupted people in the system. It's people that are don't want to put effort in. They've got an entitlement mindset, right? You don't pay me enough to do this, instead of being integritous with their job and their actions. The demoralization, corruption, that's what's at the root here, right? And it corrodes the whole system. And then you have a corrupt government on top of that'll let it fly. They're not holding people accountable. And that can come out looking a lot of different ways to people, but you need to go to the root of these things to understand what the real problem is. Otherwise, you can't fix it. Otherwise, it just gets replaced by another group of demoralized, corrupt, entitled people. We don't get down to the really root cause of why people turn out this way. We'll never fix this. That's the generational fix I'm talking about. This part of the generational fix we have to do. We have to cut off the subversion, but we also have to work on the next generation and give them the tools to the mind tools, like the knowledge early in life and combat all these types of corrosive corruption. Corrupt and abusive practices that are put upon them from a young age. If you're being lied to your whole life, lying to people and misleading people and gaslighting people, that's abuse, and it's abuse through information. Right. And it can control their mind. It can steer their mind. It can break them. And like I was saying in one of my shorts today, is that, we need to worry about what's turning these kids into killers. Because they were all born the same innocent love and light. It wasn't like they were born like that. Blame the parents. Well, you can blame the parents. How about blame the whole generation? How about blame the whole generation for not, getting involved earlier and paying attention? But that's, again, you're going to blame them, or you're going to blame the system that boxed them into a narrative and told them everything was fine. Just vote for us. I mean, at some level, you have to look back at the cycle of control, right? The fourth veil, the global ownership class, and what they invest their money into, and how they set up institutions when they're building them, and they're controlling the politicians. See, it goes back for more veils than just the first and the second veil. It goes back to the cycle of abuse is the third veil. Right, the institutions and systems that they set up to abuse us on a generational level, right? Like critical theory, like institutionalized psychiatry, big pharma, military-industrial complex. So many things are in the third veil, right? We can go back and talk about that when I fire Unveiling Reality back up as a Wednesday night show, and we'll go back and we'll do a refresh on all this, right? But then the fourth veil is the global ownership class and how they stay in power, how they are constantly generationally. A small group of people are able to rule over all of us, right? And it doesn't take a conspiracy to do it. It just takes them putting their money into things that actually break society and cause this demoralization, destabilization, and crisis. And that's why they normalize their authoritarian control over us. And they're going to normalize this Agenda 2030, and they are doing it in bits and pieces, and they have been doing it since 1992, right? That's why you see things progressively getting worse. Sustainable development into diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are all part of the plans. And now open borders. You see what's going on, right? Okay, here we go.
But
a concealed carry, he's got a fully automatic weapon and he's a criminal. He shouldn't have had it in the first. He shouldn't have a gun.
So we are told. That's correct. Now, the only other thing, if we pull back from the ledge and we try, if I try to pull a stew right here, and and that's this, is that if he is insane, we have another problem. This is indicative of why there's so many homeless people on the streets, because we have no place to put insane people anymore. And rather than putting this before a judge and a judge going, the dude's crazy, we have nowhere to put these people.
Is he crazy?
Some say that he is, and when we have testimony now, we have this nurse, coincidentally from West Palm Beach, that was over in Ukraine.
Listen to this. Right. Listen to this. I covered this, and he brought up something that I now have to go look into. So he gave me something new, and this is what I'm talking about. It's more important to know the truth than be right. Right? It's more important to know the truth than be right. And so I covered this nurse he's getting ready to talk about right here. I covered it and was like, okay, wow. This woman supposedly was over there with him in Ukraine, noticed he was crazy and reported him to the FBI. So I said, okay, well, according to her, right? I didn't confirm it or nothing, but according to her, she knew him. He was reported earlier on for being this guy who was just basically wants World War III to happen. I mean, that's what the conclusion I came to about Ryan Ruth is that he's just like totally set on the true world war between good and evil in his mind is the world versus Russia. Like he's got this old school Cold War leftover, freshly activated by the Russia collusion hoax mindset that Putin needs to be in the grave and Moscow needs to be in rubble, and he's willing to use nuclear weapons and soldiers from all around the world to get it done. He goes, that's the only, we can't just walk away from it. We have to finish basically said we have to finish the job with Russia, or else we're failing. Like he wants no other conclusion. That was my theory on why he went after Trump, because he saw Trump as standing in the way of that. Now that could change over time, but I still think that's a big part of it. His disillusionment, maybe, that he couldn't be part of the Ukrainian army and never got anything done over there. He did write a book. I read some of the book. I'm not going to buy it, but I read what was free on Amazon. And it seemed like he was kind of calling it quits on the Ukrainian side of that war, but he still was insistent that Russia had to go down. So I never got to the rest of the book. It was very poorly written, poorly edited. It was hell. I mean, Shelly and I sat there and read some of it one night, and she was like, "Oh my God," and I was like, "Dude, this is nuts! Like paragraphs the size of your hand, and run-on sentences and spelling errors and punctuation, and that's just I don't even care about that shit if you're making sense. It wasn't. He was being It was a book written by a madman. All right, let's listen to this part though. What are you talking about? This nurse. I covered this during my coverage of the Ryan Ruth golf course assassination attempt. So listen to this part.
Ryan Ralph, who was saying that he was a nut when he was over there, that he was a constant problem. And
she's the one that reported him when she got back here, right?
Right. Now, when she gave that report, I sent that report, that Wall Street Journal article, over to all of our sources in the intelligence community, all of our sources, special ops community, all of our sources in all of our former FBI guys. To a man, everyone responded, BS. She's a CHS. This Wall Street
CHS,
confidential human source.
Confidential human source. Now, see, I need to go look that up. I've never heard that. Or if I have, I didn't catch on to it. Confidential human source. You mean it's somebody they put out there to mislead the narrative? Is that what that means? Because now, I mean, I know they do that, right? You go look at I tell you what, I want to see a confidential human source. Hey, Lucifer, what's up? Human source that's posing as somebody that knows what they're talking about. Go look at that crazy lady that was on that steered redacted into that wall on the Baltimore Bridge coverage they did. It was horrific. It was a cyber attack. Freaking boat can't be on the fucking internet. It can't be. It's not connected to the internet, man. It's not connected to it can't be a cyber attack. It couldn't be a cyber attack, right? Not. But she said, well, your intelligence agency says it is, right? So she was in there spewing this narrative to them, and they're like, nom, 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 nom. Conspiracy group. They're drinking it. They're loving. They're bathing in it. you know? And it's like, dude, this lady said it seems nuts. It's on there. She's like, well, my White House insider tells me this is what it is. I was like, well, my White House insider says it's not. Right? Anybody can say that they have a White House insider if you want to. You didn't prove shit by saying that. But it made absolutely no sense because the technology on the boat wasn't able to be hooked up to the internet and be hacked in real time and steered into any fucking bridge, right? It was really happened because it was really just a failure on the boat itself. That's what happened, right? But they tried to spin it into this conspiracy, and they had some spook on there telling them to do it. And like, we got exclusive expert testimony here that with the White House, you know, the whole 9 yards. So is that a confidential human source? Maybe. How many other times has a confidential human source showed up to steer a narrative now? This is what I've been saying for like 15 years, right? Sandy Hook, Wolfgang Halbert, and all these guys. So they handled, were they actually informed? I mean, whatever happened to that guy? I think he went to jail, but did he go to jail and get out? I don't know. No one even, we all lost count of him, right? We all lost track of him. But he sure did get that narrative pumped up enough to take Alex Jones off the air, along with get, you know, parents harassed that you know, who had just lost children, right? And make everybody on the side that bought into it from those jokers looked like they were complete idiots. And then when people would try to say, hey, the corrupt, you know, don't listen to the corrupt mainstream media, they'd be like, whatever, you thought Sandy Hook was fake, right? I ain't listening to you anymore. You're nuts. That's what they do to people. They discredit them. So I think these confidential human sources could be that. So I'm going to follow up on this part of it just to let you know.
And that this is just a disinformation article. That's what this is not me saying this. Article. This is the response I got from every one of them, including guys you know, like Steve Friend, who you've had and interviewed.
Okay.
That's how we do it.
Just keep on these stories, Steve. I really appreciate it.
Steve's awesome.
And keep us updated.
We'll do.
God bless. Right. Steve Baker, investigative journalist, Blaze Media correspondent. Those both.
This guy's pretty awesome. The place is really kicking butt these days, man. I gotta say, I've come a long ways on the web back in the day when he didn't like Ron Paul. We weren't friends. But he's come a long ways, and I appreciate people that do evolve. Now here comes the meat of this section of the show, right? This is the one from the thumbnail. Wait till you hear about this. You guys know who former Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn is? Have you guys ever heard of him? Let me know in the chat. You guys chat it up. Let me know. Lucifer, how you doing, man? I saw you come in here. I was in the middle of saying something, but I wanted to say hello, mi amigo. How's it going? Just gets better and better, doesn't it? Right? Oh man, wait till you get a load of what this next part is. Wait till you get a load of this. Wow. And you know, the truth eventually comes out. You just got to know where to find it. And you can't close your mind or jump to conclusions or jump any sharks or anything like that. Just be patient. What happens has happened. And it's more important to know the truth than be right. And a lot of people just want to be first to market these days and be like, oh, but he predicted this and who cares? Who cares? Who had the most accurate story when push came to shove? Who had the truth on their side? Right? That's what it means. Winning the slip that Walz had, that he became friends with a few mass shooters. What do you think of that? I think he was speaking the truth. Well, he did explain it. He said he was talking about the Sandy Hook parents. He's talking about that little David Hogg guy. He's like, so I don't know. I mean, you know, I think honestly, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, what school shooters would he have come? Most of them die. So I don't know which one. Most of them get shot in the process. So I don't know which ones he would have become friends with. I'm gonna guess that he probably just made a mistake and misspoke. I don't think it was a confession of any kind. I think that he just was. I think he was nervous as hell and not used to being in that situation. I'm not making excuses for him, by the way. What I'm saying is I just don't think that it just doesn't make sense to me that he would do that. So I also think that it doesn't mean anything either. I mean, even if he did, I already think he's weird for his connection to the WEF and Communist Party of China. And I also think that he's super weird for his wokeness and his take with, you know, taking up the trans agenda and furthering that. I see him as a globalist puppet. That's the way I see him. So anything you know, outside of that is already, you know, you're already at the worst part you could be with me at that point. So friends with mass shooters, not, maybe not, doesn't matter. You're already a globalist working for the destruction of America. So, you know, you can't go any lower than that, in my opinion. Well, I guess you can be a pedo. So that's even lower than that. So yeah, there is one step below that. All right, let's go to this next piece. A day in the life of Harry Dunn. This is part 1 of this investigation into J6 using CCTV camera footage from inside the Capitol on that day. They got it all. And so they pieced together the timeline like we did with the July 13th event, right? We got the body cam footage. We got an expert that was piecing together the timeline. We used that as a reference. The most base take on the July 13th out there, Jeff Alstruff, phenomenal channel. And if you want base takes on everything, go to Jeff. He's got it. And we just walked it in, and we got to the truth when many of these people out there with much larger reach than me were out there grifting the conspiracy grift and calling it an inside job and all this other shit. And we proved what our gut instinct said at the first on the first day. It was communication breakdown and incompetence, and incompetence comes from an incompetent administration that allows incompetency in agencies to persist. Just like they were just talking about with the justice system there in North Carolina that was pleading out people with machine guns into concealed carry charges so that they can get them out of there and they don't have to worry about it, right? That kind of corruption, the rot in the system that we have to get rid of, the whole thing, right? The fish rots from the head down. I don't like using philosophical points too often, but that one rings true, and especially in a system that is a top-down system. So there you have it. Here we go. So you've watched a ton of J6 footage, and my favorite was the Fed who had one cuffed, brought another dude inside and uncuffed him. Okay, well, check this out, guys. Here we go.
Private First Class, Harry Dunn.
Officer Dunn has been among the first Capitol police officers to describe what happened to law enforcement on January.
Look at this. So this guy was one of the guys up there, right? And when you see his attitude at work, and we're going to learn so much more about this guy. I guarantee it. I guarantee people are going to speak out about how he was to work with, right? You can just tell he's one of those guys, one of those guys, right? So he got himself right inside the spotlight as soon as it all came out. Biden and them loved him. He's 6'7". He sticks out, and they called him a hero. Remember this. Watch this build up.
6.
His powerful testimony describing violence and stinging racism laid bare the day's facts for history.
Violence and stinging racism.
6.
His powerful testimony describing violence and stinging racism laid bare the day's facts for history.
Harry Dunn is a hero for America.
Officer Harry Dunn is an American hero.
A hero.
He is a superhero. We need heroes like him. At 6'7", you're.
Look at that. He was at all the establishment media stops being called a hero. 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 Repeat the narrative. Repeat the narrative. Repeat the narrative. Right?
Hand-to-hand combat with a mob.
Showered with racist abuse. Fighting on January 6th, that was hard.
Who was fighting back insurrectionists across the Capitol while being called the vilest racist name.
Wiping blood off of them, pouring water in their eyes.
They lied under oath. They lied under oath. That's right.
Look, he's out there with all the establishment talking heads. There's De Niro. You're a fucking actor. You have no business out there saying shit, you old man. I mean, dude, go just hide somewhere until it's over for you. All right. Go somewhere and fall in your coffin and go back into the ground, man. Cause it's just your career is dead and nobody wants to hear from you. And so there you are out there trying to talk. You're not in character, dude. You're just, the real you is an asshole. I can't stand this guy. I can't stand him. And he ruined every movie he's ever been in for me. All right. So again, let's just scroll back here. I see De Niro. I just have to go off for 1 second. All right.
Pouring water in their eyes.
They lied under oath. They lied under oath. That's right. Lied under oath.
Former U.S. Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn is running for Congress.
You see who was next to there? Jim Carrey.
Protect democracy from more than just Donald Trump.
The AP projected State Senator Sarah Elf.
What did he do? And he used that to try to gain power right away. Right away. He went right for the power. You starting to figure out this guy's mindset?
Will win.
I just unsuccessfully ran for office. His commitment did not go unnoticed.
It is imperative that we establish the truth of that day.
You are now officially part of the Biden campaign.
We must be
Oh, there he is. Biden campaign.
absolutely clear about what is true and what is a lie.
There are people that say that didn't happen.
It's on tape.
Well, this camera.
I think it's important to saturate Congress with truth tellers. Tell the truth.
So he's part of the Oath Keepers case, right? He's involved with that. Just put a bookmark in that for 1 second because I got to take care of something here real quick. And this, okay, you know what? When it comes from T-Rex, he gets his own super chat. He's his own special super chat thing. Where's that? He has his own one. He's a friend, close friend. He's been around for a long time. We go way back. So he gets his own super chat and his own intro.
Affliction and hardship awaits those who resist.
Best of all, I don't pay property tax.
All right. Thank you, T-Rex Trucking and more. Good news. The longshoremen have reached a tentative deal and will return to work on Friday, tomorrow, October 4th. Who's going to take credit for that? T-Rex, thank you for the $5 super chat, my friend. And thank you for also being a member and supporting the channel, man. I really do appreciate it, man. You're awesome. All right. Just imagine when all the boomers have passed, the world population will be a ton lower. Well, that's what they want, right? Well, that's why we got to break the mind control of the people who are here. We got to make sure that they don't damage the younger generations anymore. You know, we got to do the work now, guys. We got from now until we're in the grave to get it done. Gen X, I'm talking to you. Millennials, I'm talking to you. And to anybody who's Gen Z and coming up and based and open-minded and you weren't sucked into it, you're one of us. We all got to do this together. We all got to do it together. We got to protect the kids, the grandkids. We got to protect everything, our freedom, our country. We can't give it up. We're not going to go down letting the bad guys win. We don't do that. We don't let the bad guys win. No way. Now, yeah, the boomers, you know, they're going to do what they got to do. There's some good ones out there. I mean, my dad's silent generation, and he's a good one. You know, there's some good ones out there. My mom's come around. You know, she was excited about going to her first Trump rally. So, you know, there's still some good ones out there. You know, and I was thinking she was beholden to the establishment for all these years. All right. Hardship doesn't wait for those who resist. See, it was T-Rex all along. Go over, check out my twin brother channel, Winning Sir Reality. He's got a video up. It proves everything. All right, here we go.
Tell the truth. I don't, because I pride myself on my credibility, my integrity, and I don't conflate my story.
They lie so easily to your face. They lie to your face. My integrity, my honesty. I can wait till you see what this guy did on January 6th.
Telling the truth shouldn't be hard.
We're not returning to the story of former Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn simply because he's such a big, easy target. Sure, his lies about January 6th and his trial and congressional hearing perjuries are seemingly legion, but there are more current and legitimately new, worthy reasons for finishing our story on a day in the life of Harry Dunn.
Dunn is launching a new political action committee called Dunn's Democracy Defenders.
We'll go across the country, up and down the ballot, and elect Democrats and stop MAGA Republicans.
Officer Dunn is a force not just in Maryland politics, but in national politics as he works to get the Tim Walz and Kamala's team elected all across the country.
So with the Capitol CCTV footage, we tracked where Dunn was every moment of January 6th. And it tells a different story than the one he's told in his own book. His congressional testimony.
His own book. He wrote a book. He ran for office. He's in the Biden administration team. I mean, yeah.
FBI testimonies and his testimony under oath during the Oath Keepers trial.
I'm not one to speculate, so I like to stick to facts.
Let's revisit January 6th using Capitol CCTV footage and see what Harry Dunn really did. This is a day in the life of Harry Dunn. Let me just read something from the book here. He says, that day we met in a large auditorium. It's the same auditorium tourists sit in when they begin their tours of the Capitol. There's a huge movie screen at the front of the room, and visitors see a film about our nation's founding before they are taken on the rest of the tour. We went over logistics, who the overall commander would be, who the field lieutenants would be, and who would be responsible for possible arrests. They told us how many platoons of the Civil Disturbance Unit would be activated.
Please welcome to the stage 4 of these heroes. Private First Class Harry Dunn.
So it's important to understand that at the very beginning of his day, something
Paraded
doesn't
around
quite
like
add up. He says that he arrived around
Sideshow.
6:45 in the morning, that this roll call briefing started somewhere in the 7 to 7:30 range. And the problem with that is that after interviewing multiple Capitol Police officers, including those in what are called the first responders unit, that would be Harry Dunn's unit, we couldn't find anybody that recalled a roll call briefing of that nature. So obviously when we got access to the Capitol CCTV, it was one of the first things we went to look for was what time they met in that.
I got there early, of course. I was the first one there that day. I went into the conference room for the big meeting, right? Where I was an important part of setting up the day's agenda.
Auditorium. We watched from 6:30 to 7, 7:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock to 9:15, and after, no one ever came into that room, even though he was very specific and detailed about it being that very auditorium. There are two smaller auditoriums. There's no cameras inside those, but there are cameras in the hallways outside. So we watched those cameras for hours. We scanned through those forwards, backwards, around, and we didn't see a single law enforcement officer in that area until sometime after 9 o'clock. When one opens their own narrative with so much detail about the time, the location, the content of
it was a cold, brisk day,
the meeting that never happened, well, then everything else that he says about January 6th must be called into question.
When Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn went to work on the morning of January 6th, it felt like a normal day.
I reported for duty at the Capitol as usual, early on the morning of January 6th.
I arrived at the Capitol at my normal time, 6:45 a.m., maybe 6:50 a.m. I picked out my riot helmet and I assumed my post on the east side of the Capitol at about 9:30 a.m. From where I stood, I looked directly at the U.S. Supreme Court building and just to the right of the Library of Congress. From the details of Harry's description, we knew exactly when and where to begin looking for him on Capitol CCTV.
Where is he at?
We first picked up Harry on camera at 10:53 a.m.,
10:53
not on
a.m.,
post,
late
but
from
inside
work.
a Capitol hallway where he is seen chatting with a fellow officer for about 10 minutes.
Yep.
Most interestingly, he seems to have just arrived. He is carrying neither his M4 rifle, not his newly acquired helmet as described
He's got his cold weather cap on.
earlier in the book, nor any of the
His
other
backpack.
of his protective gear. He is still carrying his personal backpack.
I reported for duty.
Look at that. He got there late. He's probably like, why are you late again, man? You're going to get in trouble.
At the Capitol as usual, early on the morning of January 6th.
Harry then begins a leisurely stroll toward the lower levels of the Capitol building, toward the sub-basement where the police locker room is. On his way, he even stops at the now infamous Northwest Senate Wing door area. That's where the first breach of the Capitol building later occurred.
Come
Here,
on, dude.
he stops and spends several minutes scrolling through his phone.
Yeah, just frozen in time.
Kind of just, casually wandering into the building at 10:53 and having a casual chat with another officer for about 7 minutes, and then casually strolling through the building and working his way down finally to the lower level to acquire his gear that he needed for the day. Remember, Harry specifically claimed to be at his assigned post on the Capitol's northeast stairs at 9:30 a.m. and fully geared up. But from the best available of those CCTV cameras on the northeast side, we can see Harry did not take his post until 12:19 p.m., more than 2.5 hours after he claimed.
He's still wandering around this damn backpack, too.
Radio calls were heard on the Capitol Police radio for additional officers to respond to the west side of the Capitol, and he heard the call, breached the fence.
A desperate voice that demonstrators on the west side had breached the fence.
This occurred.
Desperate voice.
At exactly 12:53 p.m. when Harry would have heard this over his radio.
We just had protesters. Seat circle, breach the line. We need backup. All units available, response to the west front of the Capitol. All units available, respond to the west front of the Capitol.
This is where the narrative takes over.
Now it was obvious that there was a direct threat to the Capitol. I quickly put on a steel chest plate, which weighs approximately 20 pounds.
Why is that important? Does that make you a big man because you put on a 20-pound chest plate? Or does it make that we're supposed to think that, man, you're working so hard for us? But he made it put on a 20-pound sandwich.
And carrying my M4 rifle, sprinted around the north side of the Capitol to the west terrace.
Charlie was surrounding us everywhere.
No, he didn't. Harry did not immediately respond to the orders coming over his police radio, calling for immediate reinforcements on the west side.
All units available, respond to
There
the
we
west
go.
front
Look
of
at
the
this
Capitol.
timeline. I love
All
this.
units available, respond to the west front of the Capitol to assist with breaches, multiple breaches all along the line.
While he can clearly be seen listening to the escalating panic on the radio coming from other officers already involved in the fight on the west side, and
It's like, how do I get my lunch order in?
from commanders barking orders,
We need everything we got on the west side.
Harry continues to pace around on the east steps for fully another 30 minutes.
Carrying my M4 rifle, sprinted around the north side of the Capitol to the West Terrace.
Sprinted around.
Yeah, he's sprinting all right.
By the time Harry arrived at a rather leisurely pace,
Look at
he
this.
says
They got him nailed.
in his book and in other testimonies that he sprinted around the Capitol when he first heard the radios go off calling for reinforcements on the west side. Well, we know that he didn't leave for quite some time after that, and that when he did, he casually walked around, took about a 5-minute journey before he arrived on the Upper West Terrace. And when he got there, he was only there for less than 30 minutes before he was called inside. A call
Oh,
went
no,
out
it's
with an
just
order,
tripped,
actually
yeah.
from Lieutenant Tard Johnson,
If we're not going to use lethal force, we can't risk them taking the M4s from us.
that he wanted all of what he called the M4 units to come in. And this order specifically was given to the officers like Harry Dunn who were carrying the automatic rifles, because Lieutenant Johnson wanted to get those rifles inside so that they couldn't be taken.
You see his hat? You see his hat?
Automatic rifles, because Lieutenant Johnson
Make America Great Again. That's one of our guys right there. Wolf Boy Brown 10, how's it going, man? Been digging deep right now. This is where the fun begins. Almost forgot that quote. Yeah, man, there you go.
wanted to get those rifles inside so that they couldn't be taken.
We're taking out one and 10 of them are getting Waynefield.
The next thing that Harry said is that he went first to the basement on the Senate side of the building because he had heard that a DC police officer needed a defibrillator. After helping, he said, I ran back to the West Terrace to help other officers there. With people running around the Capitol, I knew I had to get back inside.
These guys are the true heroes. They stood and put their lives on the line for these lowlives, for Trump.
You're an actor. Go back to
Problem with that
Hollywood, weirdo.
Can't find that he ever did that either.
Officer Harry Dunn's memory of the day's horror hasn't faded.
Here, once Dunn retreats into the Capitol, he never went to the basement on the Senate side. He never went back out to the West Terrace to help officers. He stays inside at this point. He says he knew he had to get back inside because there were people running around the Capitol. Actually, at that point, there weren't people inside the Capitol yet. There had not been a breach. That happened some minutes later at about 2:13, 2:14. What really happened is that once he retreats into the Capitol, he stays on the lower west side of the West Terrace door, just basically hiding inside. And then for about 40 minutes, he kind of acted like a doorman. He did some pacing around. He was talking on his radio. He would step out of camera frame for a few seconds and come back on occasion, step out again. So he obviously wasn't going far. He was certainly not rushing over to the Senate side of the building, or he wasn't going into the basement, because that would have meant he had to be out of camera frame for much longer than he ever was, because sometimes it was just only for a few seconds. But then for that next 40 minutes or so, we see him just in that entrance area, just standing and holding the door open for other officers. Now, from the CCTV cameras in the crypt, and that's a large area right below the big rotunda upstairs. And in this particular room, there's 3 cameras, and we can see from one of those cameras that Harry Dunn is standing at the top of the steps that leads down to that lower West Terrace. In all of his accountings, he says that he was standing there because he was guarding that to keep protesters from coming down to where other officers were receiving first aid and being decontaminated.
I decided to stand my ground there to prevent any rioters from heading down the stairs to the Lower West Terrace entrance, because that's where officers were getting decontamination aid.
So that was basically his claim, is that he was standing post there. And he stood there for quite some time. By my estimation, somewhere between 14, maybe as much as 18 minutes in that stairway. Now, you'll remember, I think it was in part 2, when we showed that Harry Dunn would lose it on occasion. And this was one of those examples from Metropolitan Police body cameras. We were able to see Harry lose it. He starts shouting across the
big
crypt.
tough guy.
He's cussing. He's warning protesters, people that aren't doing anything violent. There's only a very small handful of protesters in the room at that time. And then, of course, that was when Captain Ben Smith had to run over to him and tap him on the shoulders. Calm down, Harry. Calm down, Harry. Within a minute or two of that particular incident, Dunn just bolts. Now, he says that he heard over the radio that there were shots fired in the House chamber.
We got
Yeah,
shots
see?
fired in the lobby of the
He was
House
supposed to go
chamber.
shoot
Of course,
somebody.
that was true at about
I'm gonna shoot
2:43.
14.3 hours.
That's when he just broke in a dead run and ran through to what they call the
We can get
memorial
on some
door
action.
camera.
Look,
And
he
that's where we
drops his
pick him
damn
up
clip.
at the bottom of the stairway and where he drops his rifles magazine and bounces up the floor.
What an idiot.
As soon as he races to the top of that stairway, that is, in fact, the moment where Harry Dunn's encounter with the Oath Keepers began.
There you go. And that's going to be part 2.
Are the
Coming
Oath Keepers
soon.
framed?
Boom. We'll be covering it. You can catch part 2 right here.
Representative Barry.
We'll have a lot of fun going through it. The wacky adventures of Useful Idiot. Jesus, man. How about that, guys? Have you guys seen that before? That's pretty new. But yeah, we'll follow that story too. We'll add it to our collection of stories we're following, just like this next one. This next one is one we've done 2 or 3 segments on this next story. Coming up here, the work of strong black woman Candace Owens taking on fake black woman Kamala Harris, calling out the race grift, man, and she's doing phenomenal work. And I mean, honestly, I know what it's like to do this kind of work. I've done it before, and so Ellie knows. Ellie, this is her wheelhouse. So we can both agree that she's doing phenomenal work. Well, today, in episode 78, Candace has spoken with Kamala's uncle, and she does this fantastic recap of everything as well as kind of drills down on these dual books that she has out. She has 2 different versions of the same book. One's a kid's version. Why do you write a kid's version? You know, and she makes some really keen insights, man. She's really doing good work on this. And we're going to crank right into it. Any thoughts first, though, from the crowd? Is there anything else I wanted to add into this before I sprint off here to the next topic? Oh, yeah, I wanted to say we did get to 500 on Rumble. Finally, woo, what a climb. And it was Crystal Pontek. I thought Crystal was already a Rumble follower. She is now the 500th, though. So there we go. 500th follower. We finally made it. All right, guys. Let's see. We're in, it's October 1st. November, December. We got 3 months to go. We'll see how we end the year here, man. I'm not going to, I just know that by next year, we want to make sure that we cross, we want to get into the thousands here so we can expand the reach on and the support on Rumble, because it's an important platform where you're allowed to be free with your content. It's important. It's an important part of what I do here, because in a lot of cases I wouldn't be able to bring you some of the content I do if it wasn't for Rumble and X. So support over there is key. It's very key. And Rumble people tend to really take their content seriously. They like more of the long form stuff too. And I just need to get some of these shows out there so more and more people can figure out what we got going on here. And I think the more people that I'll find out over there, the more people will have hanging out and enjoying the content. You know, we're still relatively a young channel over there. If it was like YouTube, I would have just hit monetization over there at 500. So there you go. That's one way to look at it. All right, here we are. I got 22 people watching, man. So thank you guys so much. Whoever wants to be 501, man, that's a great number to be too. 22 people watching. We got it. All right. So now part 3. Oh, thank you. Congrats. Yay. Yeah. So yeah, we'll follow up with part 2 of that story as soon as it comes out. That's an interesting story. And we need to talk to more people about that, refer them to the video, my video, or for the analysis we did, show them how much fun we have here, or just send them over to Blaze TV. That's where the video is. You can watch the original. Okay, so off we go to our third segment for the evening. And just a reminder, I will be doing the second morning show in history tomorrow. Winning 2024 morning edition at 8:45-ish, 9-ish, somewhere in between there. I'm going to start between 8:45 and 9. Right back here on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And what I'll do with that is we're going to go over all the election 2024 news I had, plus whatever's new for the day, and also the rig watch segment that we do. So we're watching out for any kind of rigging going on. I just got some small things here and there, but I got a great piece about Trump derangement syndrome as a form of hypnosis, or as we call it here, information-based mind control. That's what it really is. And it does put you in a state of hypnosis because you're mesmerized by the small narrative that you're boxed into when you're under that kind of mind control. But before we do that, we got to do these two things. This.
Oh my!
Trash and Trues, thank you for the $20 super chat to celebrate reaching 500 on Rumble. What a ride we've been on. Thank you so much for the celebration 20. I appreciate it so much. As you know, yes, definitely. Thank you for that. And I do owe one of these.
It's cold. A big one Vietnam. It has to do. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. It's cold. I can tell you all about it. I mean, look at this thing. Gonna try to get out of anything.
Mimsy, thank you so much for gifting that membership. That membership went out to Paul Farrell. Paul Farrell, come on down and thank Mimsy for the great gifted membership. Man, thank you so much, Mimsy, for all you do, and thank you for supporting the channel. You rock. You rock. All right. You like that? All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right, let's get on with it. It's time to get the video in place here. And man, I'll tell you, this is a great one too. Let's hit it. You are at winning speed. Let's get at winning speed. Let's go.
Man, I'm going to tell you all about that conversation and how it's now led me to many more. I am absolutely giddy today, you guys. I did it. I spoke to Kamala's uncle officially. And by the way, he's a gem. 10 out of 10. I really wish that he was running for president instead of her because he comes across as a very honest man. I'm going to tell you all about that conversation and how it's now led me to many more questions. So many more questions that I have about Kamala and her true heritage. Also, she's once again been asked about her racial identity. This happened just 3 days ago. And suddenly she's a little iffy on the answer. Kamala and me are now in a very particular kind of relationship. I'm like Maury and she's essentially my guest. I'm asking her a question. Kamala, during your run as president, we asked you if your genealogy was actually Irish Indian. Where to begin? Okay, so 2 days ago or 3 days ago, Kamala was asked again about her Black heritage, and suddenly she is getting a little iffy on the details. You can see she does not want to engage in the conversation, and the answer that she actually gives is fantastic. It is just fantastic, and we need to now pick it apart. So she appeared on a show called All the Smoke, and she was interviewed by the hosts, which are former NBA players Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. I want you to pay very close attention to her answer here. Take a listen.
What do you think when you hear people kind of questioning just the fabric of who you are?
Well, one,
don't you dare, Wolfram.
I'm really clear about who I am, and if anybody else is not, they need to go through their own level of therapy. That's not my issue.
Right.
My mother was very clear. She was raising 2 Black girls to be 2 proud Black women, and that was.
I mean, dude, it's so disgusting. She was your Indian mom was so proud that she was raising 2 Black girls to be proud Black women. That was your Indian, full-fledged Indian heritage mom. Look at Candace's face. Like, look at this. You know, we're sitting here and we're disgusted by it, but think about how she's feeling about this too. You know, at the same time, I mean, I love the look on her face. I love that look. She's like, yeah. How does that work, right? This woman washes her collards in the bathtub.
It was never a question.
Never
you know,
a
it's funny
question.
because over the years, journalists, some, not most, will want to talk about it. And I say, okay, if you want to have this conversation, I'm prepared to have it, but sit down and get comfortable for a few hours. If you want to start talking about race in America, you want to talk about what, the 1/8 rule? You want, right.
The 1/8 rule. She's just throwing out words now. You want to talk about that? I'm gonna beat you up with the 1/8 rule. She's changing the way she talks and everything. Stolen valor, right? Yes. X'd it out. Yeah. Look at these guys. I mean, just look at everybody's face in the room. Look at his face. Look right here. Look at everybody's face in the room. Now this guy's a total cuck, right? But look at this guy. See that stare? See the stare? They got the same look on their face, don't they? They're not even in the same room together.
You want to talk about what it means in terms of who you are perceived to be and the impact that can have on the rest of your life, regardless of who you actually are in terms of your God-given capacity and the rights that you have and should have. So, I don't mess with that. I think that's other people trying to figure some stuff out that and they
got some issues.
They got to deal with it.
Wow. So she just doesn't answer the question at all, right? So before we had her really leaning into being black, now all of a sudden she's not. She doesn't even mess with that. I don't mess with that. I don't even mess with. They need to go to therapy. She's pulling this Freudian technique. Obviously, I've spoken to you about Freud, who was a disgusting human being who essentially gaslit women who were actually being abused by their fathers. So what she's doing is this exact same Freudian technique of gaslighting people by being like, actually, you need therapy. The problem is you. The problem is actually you for asking the question. No, Kamala, we're asking the question because you made this a theme in your bookie book, which we're going to get to in a little bit, okay? So you don't get to now just not address the question whatsoever. Put yourself in her shoes, okay? I'm going to put myself in her shoes. I'm running for president of the United States, okay? And these questions keep popping up about whether or not I am black. Do you?
It's like if she was running as a white woman. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like that.
You know how simple it would be to simply answer the question? List your black relatives in 4 seconds. I would be like, this is my grandma, this is my grandpa. Suddenly she's a little iffy on the details here. Why didn't she just say, yes, obviously my grandmother is Beryl. Here's a picture of her. She's black. I'm disgusted with the people that are even calling this into question. Here's my great grandmother, Iris Finnegan. I am obviously black. Instead, she goes, oh, do you really want to talk about it? That's what I say. They show, do you really want to talk about race? Do you really want to talk about the 1/8 rule? I mean, how dare she? And the answer is yes, Kamala. Actually, I would like to talk about it.
Yeah, dude. Let's get Kamala on with Candace. They need to have a talk. It's two strong black women having a conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. That needs to happen, right? Let's go.
I'm actually totally up for talking about the 1-drop rule, the 1/8 rule. Let's discuss history. That's what those journalists should have done. That's what those former NBA players should have done, not giving her a free pass. I would have been like, no, ma'am, name your ancestors. And why are you bringing up the 1/8 rule at all? Let's talk about the history here, okay? The 1-drop rule was actually a legal doctrine in the United States that was used as a means of racial classification, okay? It really dates back to the antebellum period in Virginia, where people of color were considered legally white if they had less than 25% African ancestry. So we're talking about something that was pre-Civil War, but then the classifications became especially relevant throughout Jim Crow in the South, obviously, because of segregation. So they're like, are you white or are you black? So they needed to know how to quantify whiteness and blackness. The laws.
Remember, this isn't, she does a great history lesson here, by the way, if you're not familiar with this, but she's debunking the whole way through. But it's not about race. It's about being honest. It's about integrity. It's about not race grifting, right? It's not about whether you're one thing or another and whether people care about that or not. We've already had the first half white president in the United States, Barack Obama. But it's about telling the truth and being honest about who you are. You're going to run the country and be in charge of have our consent in your hands to act on our behalf, right? And we're supposed to trust you. We're supposed to put our kids' future in your hands, and you can't even be honest about who you are. And you got to put on a freaking show, and you got to claim some other kind of identity just to feel like you're somebody. You can't run on, your ideas are so bad, you can't just run as who you are. Your past is so tainted, you can't run as who you are. Right? What is that? That's not very trustworthy, is it? So you got to make something up to manufacture people's consent for you to be our leader, and then you're going to take us right down this dark road and then not come through with all the stuff you said, right? How can we trust you to in any way, shape, or form if you can't be honest? As a leader, as a president of our country, as handling on a global scale all of our business. If you're lying to us about something so stupid as what your race is, just say what you are and be proud of it.
Were first officially codified in Tennessee as one of Virginia's racial integrity laws. They wanted birth certificates to just be very clear whether a parent was legally white or legally a Negro, so that it was known which laws in society you had to abide by. What about Indian Americans? Because strangely, she brings up her mom. You would think the first thing she would do would be to bring up her dad. Instead, she brings up her mom. She's like, my mom was very clear that she was raising 2 black women. Your mother is Indian. Like fully 100% Indian. So the fact that the first person that you recall is a non-black person is suspicious. And regarding Indian Americans, just to be clear, in 1923, the Supreme Court decided in the United States versus Bhagat Singh Thind that Indians were classified as Caucasians, as they had been by anthropologists. They upheld that, but they also made it clear that they were not considered white. So that is probably the answer as to why her mother put Caucasian on her birth certificate. That was actually the legal classification for Indian women. Now, also regarding this one-drop rule, Kamala Harris was never subject to it ever in her entire lifetime. She was born in California. Just to be clear, that was the very first state to end segregation, and they did.
Did you guys catch that part? That her mother is listed as Caucasian because that's how they would list Indian women as Caucasian. Is that right? That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Caucasian. What does it mean? Caucasian is a term used to describe people with origins in Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. It can also refer to people with European ancestry and physical traits like light skin. The term originated in the 1700s when scholars believe that Europeans originated in the Caucasus Mountains. I know you say Caucasian Mountains, but whatever. Which is now in Russia. Caucasian, sometimes used as a more politically sensitive alternative to the terms that refer to skin color or racial group. However, the term has been criticized as many anthropologists, sorry, God, my eyes have replaced it with the term Caucasoid. Oh, seriously? Thank God for the anthropologists to tell us what to think. The Caucasus Mountains run from the Black Sea to the Caspian Sea. I think that's where Putin's mansion is that old Ryan Ralph wanted to drop a bomb on from Elon, a rocket, and are considered a crossroads between Eastern Europe and Western Asia people from Georgia, Russia, Azerbaijan, and Armenia, and are considered to be true Caucasians. So yeah, I mean, Western Asia would be India, right? Okay, makes sense. Now we're educated.
That back in 1947. So they did it 7 years before the Supreme Court decision of Brown versus Education, which federalized desegregating all of the schools. So it actually infuriates me that she does this, that she essentially goes back and pretends that she's lived through something. Like, well, let's talk about the one-drop rule. Why are we discussing the one-drop rule? By the way, even if you were subjected to it, you probably would have passed, since none of your parents are listed as Negroes on your birth certificate. Like, what are you doing mining the history of Black people that came before you and who you are still refusing to name? You put them in a book once, but that was it. Now you don't want to talk about Grandma Beryl. What's up with that? Now you don't want to talk about great grandma Iris Finnegan. What is up with that? And by
this whole grouping people, and just be where you're from. Just use your heritage. It's like this whole idea of doing people by colors is like playing checkers or chess. Where a board game where everybody has to pick a color. That's what it makes it into a game, a competition. It divides people. To say you're from where you're from, we're all Americans right now. We're all Americans. There's Americans and illegals. That's what our country is made up of right now. And put the color down. Until we put the color down, we can't put the division down, because that's a rigged game. It's a rigged game. Thank you, Mimsy.
The way, as I was considering that, her upbringing and how strange it is that she keeps leaning into this idea, like she was born 2 years before my mother was born, and my mother didn't live through segregation. My mother didn't live through any of this stuff. These are not her memories. These are the memories of my grandparents. My grandfather lived through segregation. I'm going, why does Kamala keep doing this? Like acting like she grew up in the 40s and in the 50s with these sorts of memories. And then I remembered suddenly that she did this on stage a while ago, where she got almost teary-eyed and emotional talking about busing and desegregation. I'm going to roll that back for you just to jog your memory. Take a listen.
You also worked with them to oppose busing. And, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Okay. Oh my God. Guys, so you watch that clip, okay? You're an American. You see she's getting a little choked up, and you can instantly assume that what she means is that she was like a Ruby Bridges. Yeah, like that little girl was me in second grade. I was a part of the second class to be desegregated. Like that instantly signals, given the emotionality of it, that she was a Ruby Bridges. Talk about mining Black history. Well, let me be clear. She intentionally misled people here to make them believe that she was a young Ruby Bridges. This is how disgusting and despicable this woman is. She wanted people to go back in their minds to all they learned about Ruby Bridges, the images of Ruby Bridges having to be protected by police as she entered into that school in Louisiana. She wanted people to go back in their minds to that. That's why she's getting all choky. She's like on the brink of tears. That little girl.
Manipulator.
So to be perfectly clear here, that little girl went to Thousand Oaks Elementary School in Berkeley, and far from that impression she's giving, she did not live through any desegregation or any real desegregation at all, because as I mentioned, the schools had already gone through that before she was born, literally before she was born in 1947. In fact, the school district had to issue a statement after that performance on stage. And this is what they had to put up on their website for clarification. They wrote, there has been some confusion in the media and social media around the Berkeley schools and integration due to the fact that our high school was already integrated, as evidenced, for example, by high school yearbooks, which show children of many races and ethnicities at school together prior to 1968. In Berkeley, we only have one comprehensive high school, so it was integrated by default. Our elementary schools, however, reflected the racial composition of our neighborhoods, which, like many neighborhoods across America, reflected the history of segregation stemming from policies which restricted the opportunities of non-white residents. So then they go on, we recently celebrated the 50-year anniversary of our voluntary busing plan, and you can find additional details here. So let me clarify to you what actually happened in her childhood. There was no desegregation effort like that she had to live through. She was not Ruby Bridges. Rather, what they realized was because of the past in which you had Black people all living in one neighborhood, and this was contributed sometimes because of like red line districting. You had Black people living in one neighborhood, you had white people living in one neighborhood. What ended up happening was that you had schools which were like majority Black and which were majority white. And so what they wanted to do in Berkeley was to be the first to offer a busing plan to turn that around, so that the buses would pick up students that lived far from the white school and bring them over there, so that the schools would be more evenly mixed. That's what she's describing. So after they put and implemented this busing plan, Kamala was the second or third class since they had implemented this busing plan. Nothing to do with desegregation, just an effort to say, okay, we're realizing now if people are just districted according to where they live, you're going to have these schools that are like 85% Black and some schools that are 85% white. That's what it is. So just thinking about the emotionality and how tricky she's being here, again, trying to allude to like some Ruby Bridges scenario, really makes me angry. It is just so unacceptable. I just can't stand this fraud. And it's so important to state also that the one-drop rule was declared officially unconstitutional in 1967. That was just 3 years after Kamala was born. This is just not her childhood at all. Not her childhood at all. This is just what she does. She lies and she lies and she lies. But it gets better. It gets better. But first, I'm going to remind you guys about preborn, because Kamala is indeed the first vice presidential candidate to ever visit an abortion facility. And Tim Walz supported a bill in his home state which legalized the denial of life-saving medical care to infants born alive after botched abortions. The media has dubbed this the abortion election. We have to stand up to this evil. When you join forces with Preborn, the largest pro-life organization in the nation, you are protected. Was going through her book, $140. Was going through her book that I downloaded. I downloaded that so that you didn't have to, because I wanted to send a picture of her grandma Beryl to someone. So initially, when we started looking into the story, my producer had downloaded the book. I had downloaded the book, but he had stumbled upon the picture of Beryl. So I hadn't actually flipped through the ebook that I had downloaded. And so remarkably, it was kind of the first time I was going to the picture segment looking for Beryl. And I realized Beryl's not in this book. I was going, wait, what's going on? This is her book. Where is the Beryl picture? And I said to my producer, like, did we make a mistake? Like, this is definitely in the book. He pulls his up. He has a picture of Beryl. Mine doesn't. I'm going, is this a different edition of the book? And yes, it was. There were actually 2 publications of the book. One in January of 2019. And then 5 months later, in May of 2019, they published what is known as a young readers edition. Basically, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's meant to be for younger readers. And it's typically more pictorial, right? So they want to change a couple of words, essentially kind of dumb it down to make it easier to read and include more pictures. Yet in this edition, they decided to remove pictures. And it's just, I guess, ironic that the pictures that they removed for the Young Readers later edition were pictures of Black Iris and Grandma Beryl. There were more pictures that were removed, but the family members were all still there, except for Black Iris and Grandma Beryl. I found that to be extremely interesting. But suddenly I realized that I had never flipped through the book that had more pictures than the edition that I was holding. And I started going through them. And you guys are not even going to believe just how diabolical Kamala Harris is. It was just... I'm going to have to just go through this calmly because I am telling you, as a Black person, it's actually offensive how hard she tried to Blackify herself. And it made me think of the entire Emmanuel Macron, Brigitte Macron scandal, because the journalist that broke that story essentially said that what they do when they're running is they publish a book, and that is the legend that is established, essentially, because people in their minds think, oh, well, if it's in a book and a publisher agreed to publish it, HarperCollins published this book about Kamala, they must have fact-checked this, and all of this must be true. People have this wrong perception that if a book is published as nonfiction, that there was some effort of due diligence, which means that everything that you're reading is not fiction. So they do this. Like it's like a rite of passage. I'm publishing this book, and I'm expecting everyone to just accept this as the legend of Kamala Harris.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Like these people, they all publish a book first, right? And they say, well, this is the legend. These are the facts. Like Dreams from My Father and Obama, right? And then people go, well, that's just the facts, right? But in truth, when you dig into it, there's usually a lot of mistakes and a lot of lies inside those books.
I'm going through these pictures, okay? And aside from Iris, and aside from Beryl, she also decided to include some other, what I would describe as noteworthy pictures of herself. Like this one, where she writes, "Sporting my fro, summer of 1970. But basically, you just know when you go through this that they essentially sat down as a team and were like, we're creating the legend. We need you to be Black. Okay, this was published again in 2019. And they're like, we need that Black book. Let's make it easy. Give me the blackest photos of you that you can possibly find. Like to put the caption of her afro is just signaling to Black people, hey, I'm Black, which is ridiculous because there's so many other races that have afros. Puerto Ricans have afros. Spanish people have afros. Jewish people have afros. Mark, my director, is Jewish. He has an afro. Okay, it is not like proprietary to Black people, but she's publishing this because like you're just supposed to look at the picture and go, oh, well, she's got an afro. I guess she's Black. She literally wrote that. Okay. Then, of course, if you can imagine this team sitting down trying to process how to sell Black, you would go, well, Harlem, right? You got to put some pictures of Harlem here. And there are pictures of her in Harlem. Look at this photo. She just posts up right here, visiting my Uncle Freddie in Harlem. Harlem was always a magical place for me. Now, what's interesting about this picture?
Yeah, right. And they just take this in for a second. She's my Uncle Freddie, right? Hey, remember that.
Is the man behind. I don't know if that's actually her Uncle Freddie, right? Like that came to my mind. I'm like, is this just like a guy working on the side of the street and she's just like including him because this picture shows a Black man that's in Harlem and again signals to Black people that like she's with her uncle up in Harlem. Kind of feels that way. But then I realized that she featured some more pictures of her Black aunties and her Black uncles, and we see Uncle Fred again. Take a look at this photo. This is going to drive you guys crazy because I still can't believe it when I read it. So you see three obviously Black people in this photo. You would not question the authenticity of their Blackness. And the caption reads, I'm blessed with an amazing family. I'll never be able to thank Auntie Chris, Uncle Freddie, and Aunt Mary enough for their constant encouragement and support. They always showed up for me, as they did here at a campaign event for my DA's race that we held at a San Francisco, you guessed it, jazz club, because, hey, we're talking Harlem, we're talking Black people, we're talking afros. Let's also post a picture of you in a jazz club with your aunties and your uncles. And like Black people will just accept that you only have all these photos because you're like super Black. But then I said, wait a second, she doesn't have an Aunt Mary or an Aunt Chris or an Uncle Fred. I've been deep in this woman's genealogy. Who are we talking about here? These people do not exist. And I said, is it possible that like somewhere in the book that she's alleging, probably assuming that no one is going to actually read through, she acknowledges that these aren't her real aunties and uncles?
Ellie's on it.
And the answer is yes, my friends. There's a passage about Aunt Mary and Uncle Freddie in this book, The Truths We Hold, which is really just the greatest trick ever played on Black America. She writes this, my mother surrounded herself with close friends who were really more like sisters. My godmother, a fellow Berkeley student whom I knew as Aunt Mary, was one of them. They met through the civil rights movement that was taking shape in the early 1960s and was being debated and defended from the streets of Oakland to the soapboxes in Berkeley's Sproul Plaza. As Black students spoke out against injustice, a group of passionate, keenly intelligent, politically engaged young men and women found one another. My mother and Aunt Mary among them. They went to peaceful protests where they were attacked by police with hoses. They marched against the Vietnam War and for civil rights and voting rights. They went together to see Martin Luther King Jr. speak at Berkeley, and my mother had a chance to meet him. She told me that at one of these anti-war protests, the marchers were confronted by the Hells Angels. She told me that at another, she and her friend were forced to run for safety with me in a stroller after violence broke out against the protesters. But my parents and their friends were more than just protesters. They were big thinkers, pushing big ideas, organizing their community. Aunt Mary, her brother, my Uncle Freddie, my mother and father, and about a dozen other students organized a study group to read the Black writers that the university was ignoring. So you guys,
right? And again, talking about how cultural Marxists work, right? The big theme going over all this stuff tonight, how they work, right? What is she pushing in that statement? What is she pushing? Right? She's pushing this whole idea, this whole big idea of injustice, oppressor, Marxist philosophy, Marxist framing of things, and putting everything in that context. Good night, Kay. Have a great night. Putting everything in that context. That's what the whole passage was about. And that's what this whole idea is about. That's, why she wants to be part of this disenfranchised group when she's not.
What can I say here? I am being reduced to sound effects. She wrote this book and she starts the sentence with her family. She's visiting her family in Harlem. This is maybe she wrote, I have the best family, and shows multiple pictures of an Uncle Fred that isn't her Fred. Why did she do this? It's not her uncle. Okay. It's just not her uncle. It's her mom's friend. And she dedicates so much time to him and the protests. And she's dropping Martin Luther King, and she's dropping W.E.B. Du Bois, and she's dropping so many other people that are Black in this book. For what reason? Because she's performing, because this is a sleight of hand, because they quite literally likely sat around in a boardroom and they said, how can we make you Black? I want to see every photo of you ever taken. And
I would add to that too, like what I just did, the cultural Marxist aspect of this, right? The strategies they use, the things that I showed in that short I played earlier, coming out of that book, Big Intel, when it's all about the strategy of breaking a nation from inside through division. And obviously she had ambitions in her life, and she's fulfilled those ambitions, right? Striving for power and control and authority over others, right? To dominate others, to then come in and drive a wedge between people to enable that further generational power, and the cultural Marxist infiltration in our country, which she was programmed to be from the beginning, obviously.
I'm going to tell you what in people's minds will just read like Blackness. So we've got Ruby Bridges now in people's memory, being embedded in people's memory. Now we've got this idea of her marching aunties and uncles in Harlem. It's just so unacceptable. It is so unacceptable. After going through all these photos, I made a joke to my producer and director. I was like, oh, what's next? Is there going to be a picture of her just like eating collard greens and cornbread? Is she going to be like, this is me eating collard greens and cornbread? I'm in Harlem. And they said back to me, no, she's done that. I said, no. I said, shut up. That's not true. She's not done that. There's no way. They said, no, there are clips of her speaking about collard greens. I said, I cannot believe this. Produce me the clip. And they did. Here it is.
I have a friend who had a Christmas party, Christmas Eve every year, and she asked me to make the greens for a party every year. And I am not lying to you that I would make so many greens that I'd need to wash them in the bathtub.
Gross. And people are laughing. Please, she looks disgusted. There you go. There we go. Someone be disgusted, please. That's nasty.
I'm telling you the truth.
So how do you make your greens? Do you put turkey in them? Do you
Bacon. I do bacon.
She puts
garlic.
vinegar.
I put white vinegar.
Yes.
I start with, I slice up my garlic. But no, first I chop up the bacon and get all that fat going. Then I put garlic, some chili peppers, and then a lot of water and some little chicken stock. And I let it go for a while before I put the greens in. And then, so you get that going and all that flavor. And then I put the greens in for a couple hours. Then I do vinegar. And then I cheat and do a little Tabasco.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, but Tabasco, I like Louisiana hot sauce, but Tabasco has that right amount of vinegar. Yeah. And that's how I do my greens.
I see why you get invited every year.
Right in the bathtub while I wash my ass.
And she brought it up again at another event. Take a listen.
Right, Marlon. So I know how to make a mean pot of greens. In fact, people used to ask me to make greens for them for Christmas. One year, I had so many that I had to wash that we ended up washing them in the bathtub. So I am not playing around.
Ugh, gross.
Black America, listen to me. I'm speaking directly to you because I am not playing around either. If I catch you voting for this woman, I'm going to haunt you. I'm going to haunt you in your dreams. There will be nowhere that you can go where I will not haunt you. This is just, we have to come together. At some point in society, we have to come together to declare this unacceptable. Like, I don't care where you sit on the spectrum. This is the most not okay thing that I have ever seen in the history of politics. This is how she's shoring up Black votes. She's going around talking about collard greens, putting in fake pictures of her uncles and aunties that are Black, while conveniently ignoring all of her aunties and uncles that are white. And people are just eating this up. eating this up. Let me find that woman that was going, okay, to all that vinegar put into her call. Okay, let me find her. I'm going to haunt her. I promise you that.
I do it.
But of course, guys, let's get to me speaking to her uncle, because that actually happened. I promised you yesterday. I said,
They all do it. They all do it. Biden does it. Clintons do it. They all play that game. Remember Hillary with the hot sauce in her purse, right? Biden making up stories about marching for the civil rights and all this other shit he never did. They all do it. They all play. And you know what? They're all the biggest racists in the world. They are. They are. I mean, nobody's talking about the fact that Kamala's family owned slaves in Jamaica. No one's even mentioning that, right? But they'll remember Thomas Jefferson, right? I guess because he directly, and it was just her family. I don't know, once removed, but yet they want everybody here to play reparations generations down the pike here. It's a hypocrisy, right? And that's built into the cultural Marxist aspect of what they do. That's all part of the plan: divide and control, conquer, destroy, and then build it back up into your utopia, which is really a living hell.
Phone call. I was trying to wait for it to happen yesterday. Well, it happened last night. Part one of our phone call happened last night. We briefly spoke on the phone, I would say for about 10 minutes. And I first want to say just how much I liked this guy. I just had a feel like, okay, I'll be honest. I have a Caribbean bias. My former producer made it very clear to me that I have a Caribbean bias because she'd pitch me stories or like say like Rihanna did this. And I'd be like, I'm not going to say anything bad about Rihanna, or like Nicki Minaj. And she's like, but I have a Caribbean bias. This guy's got a Caribbean accent. My grandma had a very thick St. Tomian accent. So it was just like, I could sense his Caribbean calm. I can explain to you. And I could just also sense that he was being incredibly honest and forthright. And he was speaking to me. And it was actually like very, I guess I would say just beautiful in a way, because he cared about this. He wanted to reach out because he cares so much about Vioris, and he doesn't want whatever is going on with Kamala to make people have this perception of Vioris. And I told him right away that it was never my intention for him to get inundated. So I want to be clear. My understanding is that it's the press calling, but I want to make sure that there are no Candace Owens viewers that are going out there calling any of these relatives that are still alive, because we can find information online, but we definitely should not be harassing her relatives who have nothing to do with her running. And in many cases, don't even agree with her politics. Like this person that I spoke to is a Candace Owens fan, conservative, as many Caribbeans are conservative, because on the islands, that there's just not a lot of wokeness. I'll leave it at that. Why are you gay kind of a vibe going on. You are gay is a little bit more of like an island vibe. Anyways, I just said to him, look, we're just trying to get questions answered about Kamala's heritage because of her father's paper. I said, I have a lot of questions about your brother, Donald Harris. I just am not understanding anything in this paper. And I went through the holes in it. I went through the fact that, he mentions this person growing up, like they all kind of grew up on a farm together, but you're asking the question, like Beryl married this person. Why is he trying to make it seem like everyone grew up as one happy family? Why didn't he even mention Vioris at all, which is kind of the dog that didn't bark? And I asked him directly if he knew the Miss Iris that he is referring to in this book, and the Miss Iris that Donald J. Harris is referring to in his piece, rather, who he says is Iris Ney Finnegan. Again, very strange, because Iris should have never been Ney Finnegan. Finnegan was her married name. And he said, I can't answer that. I don't know that name. I want to be very clear. He has a relationship with Donald. He is close with Donald. They grew up together. He considers Donald his full brother. He has no idea who Miss Iris Finnegan is. This is Donald's.
Whoa. No idea. Donald's brother. No idea. T-Rex Trucking and more. Thank you for the $10 super chat, my friend. Donald Trump still holding strong as the only president and vice president who has never held slaves in his entire family lineage since the beginning of the United States. Awesome. And vice president? You mean J.D. Vance too? Are you talking about Trump and Vance? Please clarify. Let's move on. Thank you for the $10 super chat, my friend.
Brother that we're talking about. So I said, okay, that's of course of some interest to me. I asked him why it is that he's even then mentioning this Miss Iris. And he told me that he wanted to clarify something which was of most importance to me. He wanted me to know that before Vioris and Oscar Harris got married, Oscar Harris already had 3 children. Okay. One of them being Donald. Now, to be clear, he is younger than Donald, a lot younger than Donald. So he wouldn't know much about if there was some family secret, he would not be aware of it. But to the best of his knowledge, like this is what he was told, that they had 3 children before Vioris and Oscar got married. And I asked him, quite frankly, if he knew or heard of Beryl. He told me he does not know Beryl. Instant red flag to me. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how do you not know if you have a half sibling that you are close to and have been close to your whole life? How do you not know who their mom is? He said, I don't know whose mother is. You don't know who Donald Harris's mom is. The woman who started this entire thing, Beryl Finnegan, like the person who just flagged me as weird, something is not right here. We now know that Donald Harris's brother does not know him, okay? Like I said, he said that Oscar Harris had 3 children before he married Vioris. He mentioned that Donald was very close to them. He also said that Oscar Harris's children all had businesses, that Donald, when he was coming up, Donald was in university. They kept very close to him. He said that Donald has always been very, very private, and he doesn't like publicity. And I find that to be very interesting. What people, yeah, sure, there are some people who are exceedingly private, and there are some people who are exceedingly private because they have something to hide. And I, again, do not feel that Donald Harris was telling the truth about his upbringing. I think he gave some truths and kind of made it very murky in his Jamaican heritage piece, but some things that were objectively proven to be untrue. He told me that Kamala definitively knows Vioris, that he also knows her, that she visited Jamaica twice with her father, and that sometime after she had graduated college, she went down to Florida with her sister and she visited Vioris. So she had a relationship with Vioris. Unfortunately, Vioris did not make her book. And I think we know why Vioris did not make her book. Now, I have no reason not to believe the person that I spoke to. I just felt that he was being very authentic, and he was there to simply clarify some things, and that he didn't know the answers to some things. He authentically didn't know. And if he is telling me something that is not correct, then the reason why those things are not correct is not because he's trying to lie, but it's because he is not aware of them. So it leads us again to more questions about Donald Harris. Who is this guy? Who is his mother? Where is Beryl? Okay, where is Iris Finnegan? Why won't Kamala, who felt so, I guess, close enough to Beryl and Iris to include them in their book, why won't she even mention them as an easy way to debunk what is being said? Why is she even mentioning the 1/8 rule? What are you talking about, Kamala? If you're telling us that your grandmother is Beryl, she looks pretty black to us, like that would make you more than 1/8 black. What's going on here? Why are we getting all iffy on the details? We've got a couple of lingering questions here, and I'll tell you what we are starting to think about. But first, I want to remind you to drink coffee, because we are not letting go of the story. You're going to need a lot of coffee. And if you're going to drink a coffee, it should be 7 Weeks Coffee, because it is America's pro-life US. That's 7weekscoffee.com, and use code Candace for up to 25%. Things that we are exploring. Someone has found. Okay, now let's get into some other leads. So we have a couple of interesting things that are happening, some things that we are exploring. Someone has found. Okay. And this is, by the way, we'd be in conspiracy land. We got nothing more than like a visual. And I can say by the visual, this woman does look like the Beryl that is pictured with Kamala, that I said looks like a 60-year-old woman. I'll show you the photo right here. Okay. So somebody came across a woman who has the same name, Beryl, who is still alive. Very, very, very old. Now, this woman is not at all related to Kamala, judging by who her son is and doing that sort of a thing. She's not related to Kamala, but again, she has that same name. She's still alive, and we have confirmed that she is from that same town, that same place, Brownstown, Jamaica. So we know she would have been there at the same time. And like I said, she resembles the person that Kamala is trying to pass off as her grandma. Could this be the help? Could this be a woman that they just took a picture with? We're going to explore that lead, but first, a bigger lead. And now I can just send all of you guys to hunt and figure things out. By the way, I'm depressed because next week I'm on vacation, which means that we're going to have to stop this. Like tomorrow will be the last day of the investigation before we have to pause for a week and come back after Columbus Day. But anyways, here is something that you guys can help with. So remember in Donald J. Harris's piece, he mentioned only a sister, despite the fact that he has like at least 5 other siblings. He only mentioned Enid Maud Harris. He just calls her Enid. We were able to find her because one of you guys sent us a file, and it is confirmed that Enid is the sister that Donald Harris had, which predates his Oscar Harris's marriage to Vioris. And it turns out that she is just a half sister. We were able to determine this because we found her marriage certificate where both of her parents' names are listed. I'm going to show that to you right now so you can see that Enid Maud Harris got married at St. Peter's Church. This was in New York. And that she married a man named Hugh Ashton Watts. Okay. And you can see listed under her parents, we have Oscar Joseph Harris, and we also have Perline Curry. We cannot find Perline Curry, and we cannot find Hugh Ashton Watts. Now, both of these people would be dead today. Okay, so again, we're just asking you to crawl through online looking for documents to determine who these people are. It's like without a trace. We know that Enid is still alive. Obviously, Enid is very advanced in age, so do not call Enid and ask any questions. We are not okay with that. We are not here to harass elderly people. We're just looking for answers because there is a plausibility that maybe Perline Curry is his true mother that he's not telling us about. Maybe Perline Curry is Kamala Harris's grandmother and not Beryl, right? So again, we have questions here, and the fact that we can't find Pearline Curry. We just want to know what race she is, what she looks like. That's really kind of the information that we're looking for. And again, a good start here is you can find Pearline Curry, or if you can find Hugh Ashton Watts. And we know that they got married in New York. We know that they lived at least for a short time.
Ellie, you can do this, can't you? See if you can help out and get on the show.
In the Bronx, we're sending you guys out to explore those leads as we continue to try to get to the bottom of Kamala's heritage, because I personally do not accept that I need therapy, as she says. If you are even asking a question, you need therapy. No. Like I said, we are only here because you sent out your media goons to go after Janet Jackson and to try to paint her as crazy. We're only here because we have now arrived at the stage where you've gone from bringing Megan Thee Stallion out to shake her butt. You're walking out to Beyonce. You're talking about collard greens. You're dropping fake black relatives to kind of persuade people that you have this black upbringing. You're talking about Harlem. You don't get to pull a 180 and pretend that it's irrelevant. Okay?
Yep.
Because you know when Trump was on stage and he said to you, look, I don't care whatever she is. Well, let me tell you, I disagree with him. I care. You've now caught my attention, okay? And common sense says to me that if any person was put in a seat and asked about their heritage and someone said, what do you think about these rumors that you aren't black? All you would do is start listing your relatives that are black and say how foolish it was. And she's not doing that. She's instead running Operation Gaslighting. And you know what? Shame on those people. Shame on Matt Barnes for not pushing her. Put her feet to the fire. You don't get to just mine black history and black pain to try to present yourself as the first black female presidential candidate. It doesn't work like this. It's completely unacceptable. Nobody would have cared if you ran and you said, I am Indian Irish. Not a single soul would have cared. Okay? You did this. You did this, and we're not going to let it go because nobody messes with Janet Jackson. All right, guys, before we get into your comments, I want to remind you that this episode is sponsored by Nimi Skincare. It's my favorite skincare brand out there. You see me using it on Instagram. They've come to now be known as America's Skincare Company because they formulate and manufacture all of their skincare products here in the U.S.
Thank you, Candace. Awesome report. The rest of that's just her reading comments and things like that. So we're all good. A great report. She's got one more to come out before she goes on vacation. So I'll probably snatch that one up and save it for next Tuesday. So we'll have some more investigation, some more on this next week. I think it's very interesting. I'm enjoying it. And I like this kind of investigation. And it's about integrity. It's not about race. It's about the integrity of these people. And underneath that, it's about really a glimpse into how these Marxist-minded, Marxist-influenced people operate and why they have so much division. Remember when I started repairing history together, I wanted to kind of solve that issue, or at least put out the solutions, the long-term solutions for that issue. And in that, came to realize that, that this idea of color and race and how they use it against us is really this major dividing point. I came in when the premise already that it's always been the establishment that's been out there doing it. But when the establishment is corrupted by cultural Marxists and corrupted just by corrupted people, right? Demoralized people in general, which generally fall into that category. Why are they demoralized? Why are they in the state of mind? And then you have this indoctrination process, this subversion process that's around us that we were born into, right? It begins to fit together, right? It begins to fit together. So this whole how the establishment uses race to divide us, and then they side with it, right? They side with the oppressed, because it's all fitting together. So as she does her investigation, my 2 decades of investigation continue on with this, and trying to identify where this mind control is coming from, where the subversion is coming from, so that we can put a stop to it. It's all about root cause analysis, so that we can implement the root cause solutions. So we identify the root cause solutions that that we implement on a generational level, and also on a present day level, in terms of cleaning out, weeding out the corrupt, and defunding and removing their systems, right? But we also have to defend ourselves in a preventative measure against future subversion, right? And we do that by doing things like getting ready critical theory wherever it's at, defunding it, removing the incentive for practitioners and agents of critical theory to be indoctrinating people. We start from there, and then we also arm our children with trivium education. We teach them the philosophy of liberty, Americanism, right? What it means to be an American, to be proud, American pride in America, pride in who you are, what this country is about. And also Socratic methods, just more critical thinking, but no critical theory, right? And that's how we're going to beat them in the long run, right? Immediately, it's about 2024. It's about November 5th. It's about getting through to the finish line and winning, and then getting in there and doing the work that needs to be done unobstructed. And if we get in there, we're going to see sparks fly. If we don't, we're going to see probably some of the worst things we've ever seen in history, perhaps. It's interesting how close we are to that tipping point. Real quick here, let's do this. Talking Trash and Truth, thank you for the $10 super chat. And again, thank you also for the $10 super chat, T-Rex Trucking and more. There's your little celebration dance for that one. And Max Mirror activated. Yes, Max Mirror activated. He'll get to the bottom of it for sure. For sure. Yes. All right. Good job, guys. All right. We are winding up here. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here this evening. So final thoughts from the crowd, final comments. Good stories tonight. I think we've all learned a lot and had a really good time doing it. And we'll stay on top of each one of these stories and more as we keep continuing down this very crazy year in history, probably one of the most important years in American history. Well, I think, and when it all works out, if we come out on top, we'll recognize this is one of the most important years in history, more important than even any of the years we thought were important behind us. Maybe next year we'll say the same thing. No, I don't think. I think so. I think 2024 is a special year, pivotal turning point for our this country. Because I guarantee they're not going to kind of keep doing this every 4 years. The establishments, if they win, they're going to clamp down like you never believe. I think they thought they had it handled this time. And then they're going to be like, you know what? We just can't keep this up because we got this Agenda 2030 that's knocking at the door that we have to get implemented. We have to finish this. We have to get this done, right? They got plans. We're standing in the way. And so is Donald Trump. So make sure you guys get out there and vote. Look out for rigs that are out there. Look out for people trying to rig it, trying to steal ballots. Look out for people trying to, in any way, shape, or form, report them, record them. If you don't want to put it out yourself, I'll put it out for you. Okay. And before I go, I'd just like to say that there are good people and bad people in this world. And it has nothing to do with race, because there's good white people out there. There's bad white people out there. There's good black people out there. And there's bad black people out there.
Yeah, listen up. I got a story to tell about a guy named Gary Lamb who ain't paying well.
Man, how you doing? So, yeah, you saw it right. They said they ran out of money, and if you don't give us $2,000, we're gonna get you out of here. It's like I finally got my feet on solid ground. Finally got my feet on solid ground, and boom, they say, well, we don't have any more funding in Oklahoma, and it's time for you to, nut up or shut up. And I'm like, all right, whatever. What can I do at this point? So that's where I'm at. But I'm not the only one that's in this fight. I'm not the only one that's going through this. I'm not the only one that's going to be getting evicted real soon. So we're also trying to get awareness to everyone in Oklahoma to know that's what's going on and ask, why is this happening? How did this happen? How did you run out of this money? How did you misappropriate all this money? What happened? And we're finding out that a lot of people had their hands in the cookie jar, man. A lot of people had their hands in the cookie jar. And because we as a nation don't watch these people and we don't police who's getting the money, this happens.
I was my girl Shelly $2,000, that's a fact. She's getting tired of us running, no playing back. Where's the money, Gary? You've been dodging for days, thinking that you can fool us, playing those games, but we ain't buying it. Your excuses are lame. Time to step up, man, no more delay. Where's the money, Gary? Where's the money? Better pay what you owe. Where's the money, Gary? Where's the money? Can't keep running no more. Yo, Gary, it's time to face the truth. Shelly needs her cash, no more acting uncouth. Pay up what you owe. Don't make us get rough. You mess with the wrong crew. Now you're playing tough. Where's the money, Gary? Where's the money? Better pay what you owe. Where's the money, Gary? Where's the money? Better pay what you owe. Where's the money, Gary? Where's the money? Better pay what you owe. Where's the money, Gary? Where's the money? Better pay what you owe. Where's the money, Gary? Where's the money? Better pay what you owe.
You better pay what you owe. All right, guys. That's it for this evening. I'll be back tomorrow morning between 8:45 and 9. Probably 8:45 is when I'm going to launch it. And then we'll be kicking off at 9 o'clock. So I'll be open for business at 8:45. And then at 9 o'clock, we'll get into the stories. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here. Thank you so much to all the members that support the channel. And thank you to everybody on all the platforms that are watching. I'll see you soon. And until next time, everyone, stay based, get active, and keep on winning.
I'm going to leave you with this one final message. We're going to win the election. We're going to win it big. We're going to win it bigger than ever before. We're going to do things that nobody believed. It's going to be more important even than 2016. We are going to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.